Welcome to Dark Side of the Moon.
Alright folks, we're back with another episode of Dark Side of the Moon. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Toohey. Let's get to it. Alright Noel, we're wandering off the marble path and we found ourselves in the hands of Robert Kirkman and Skybound Comic Books. In the
safe hands.
In the safe hands, yeah, exactly. And in the shape of Invincible, the Amazon adult animated show. You say, because you've read the comic book and I haven't,
indeed, yeah.
You say it's a direct adaptation of the comic book.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true to its source material that, in a good way. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, I think visually they do a lot of their own. Obviously, like you'd have a fight segment that might be 9 or 10 pages, but the nuance, what actually happens between that, they just capture it perfectly.
It's not anything new to have an almost direct panel to screen.
No,
adaptation.
I remember it reminded me of Watchmen. You know, I mean, Watchmen was a great film, but I've read that.
Do you think it will usher in a new age of maybe seeing more of these adult-themed comic books becoming long-form?
That's not even a matter of opinion, because it's always going to be one thing, and that's a matter of success.
Yeah.
And it was successful.
And
Ergo, yes.
On the back of the boys as well.
On the back of the boys, exactly, yeah. And it just showed that like animation is still like, you know, because we see Marvel are doing it now as well. With the What If kind of series, we're going to see them. Animation has definitely got a place in what we're going to be experiencing.
And Marvel have been like missing a step in terms of animation.
They have, and DC have actually been strong in it. And I know DC have fallen so far behind Marvel. It's crazy, but at the same time, like the DC films have been brilliant. So I do think,
And that's because they leaned heavily on the source material.
They leaned heavily on the Killing Joke and really great series like that.
Batman Returns.
Batman Begins, stuff like that.
And so do you think this will be like so? Do you think this will be a growing trend going forward? That maybe we might even see a Walking Dead animated
why not?
series?
Because the fact of the matter, if somebody isn't turned off by the fact that it's animation, and it seems like this was popular enough that people weren't, or at least enough people weren't. Yeah. And you're thinking, well, this opens up the literal universe to us. Because if we want to fight out on the base of a burning star, then it doesn't take a studio and $200 million and 9 months' work that we can do this. And people will be blown away by it, because I was blown away by Invincible.
And because the fact that if you have like animation is like limitless.
Like you of course, why wouldn't it be?
And so all these comic books that are hard to adapt to a live action, where it's going to cost you $200 million, and it might have only a very niche fan base. You know what I mean? Like a Sandman. I think Netflix are taking a big risk with Sandman, putting so much money into it, because even though it's well known between me and you, but we know comics.
There's a sink or swim. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sink or swim, definitely.
But if that was animated, the risk is 10 times less.
I think, once you have enough properties that are making money, you're allowed to just kind of roll the dice, and if it doesn't work, nobody gets bread taken off their table. Yeah. But with this is outside of the Marvel universe. Yeah. Dark Horse, is it?
No, Skybound. Because he works with Image.
And they took this property and they said, because this only ended maybe a year and a half ago or something. I was surprised even, because I remember the last two comics, they kind of wrapped up the storyline, and I was kind of going, whoa, it's finally over. I can't believe it.
I felt that at the end of The Walking Dead. It's like, I knew it was going to happen, but now that it's here, I feel like it's like you nearly feel something's missing or something.
Yes.
You know, that ritual. It's like if Game of Thrones had ended properly. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Imagine what you would feel if Game of Thrones had ended well. And
I think quite often about how it would have felt. Like, you know, like the waking up and screaming, that sort of kind of feeling.
And do you see, like, Robert Kirkman has made it like known over years that he hasn't had the creative kind of input into the Walking Dead shows he would like.
Yes, it's the same as George R. Martin. I always fuck up his name. Absolutely. Because the thing is, if you let a character survive, every interaction that person has is a step away from the source material, and then there's just a butterfly effect that you've created.
And when you introduce a couple of characters that aren't in the source material, and they become pivotal to the show,
and then it could become pivotal to the show. Like I mean, this just said, look, this comic series is actually great. I mean, I was watching it with my fiance, and she was like, it's a bit, you know, because you have Atom Eve, she's pink, she's, you know, like they're all gregarious kind of characters. They can fly, they can shoot, they can do all that kind of jazz. And she was like, "Oh yeah, no, this is good." And I was like, "Okay, I know her so well." Like I was like, "This is not going to be what you think it is." And at the end of episode, whatever it was, 2 or 3, she was like, "Okay."
Yeah, like the end of episode 1 is insane.
Exactly. Yeah. So it really, I don't know. I just thought it was. Robert Kirkman writes stuff for Robert Kirkman, and if you like it, that's great. And he's always, and that's what I think good bands do. Sometimes it blows up in their face in a way it's not successful or something. But if you just start saying, right, I made this and people loved it, so I'm going to make this again.
Yeah.
And all you'll ever do is a cheap imitation of this. You have to go another way.
Yeah.
And he's making stuff that he would like to see.
Yeah.
And this just bleeds that.
And you see this could end up leading into like an Oblivion song animated series, his new graphic novel.
Oh, why not? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think when, Kevin Feige and guys like that, I think when they bring home the bacon, I think, and they have.
Yeah.
Like if I give you a film and if you give me 300 million and I give you $1 billion, and you give me 200 million, I give you $500 million, and it goes on and so forth. You back the fuck off and you trust that I'm going to do this and I will do this. So I think this was definitely another example of that.
And I think it's a like the fact that Robert Kirkman hadn't had as much as say in The Walking Dead as he would have liked. I think the fact that this is his creation, it's created by him, he adapted it to screen for Amazon, and the strength of it shows that maybe that at times maybe The Walking Dead should have leaned into his strength as a storyteller,
Yes. And this is the thing about having actors and stuff, isn't it? Because here's what I want from my character, and I don't think my character should do this, or I want, because that is just the hubris of working with actors and working with people who they themselves get involved. I think it's a little bit different for a voice actor.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're invested, and God knows the voice actors were great in this. But I do think at the same time, here's my source material and here's my script. They just got on with it, and I do think the animation again lends itself to that.
To me, it felt like a series that was the cast was handpicked by Robert Kirkman himself.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I think the way it was casted, each actor he's worked with a lot of them over time, like some people from The Walking Dead and stuff. But I think like the way he had such a hand in bringing this to the screen. I just think that he probably had a big influence in the cast as well. That kind of way, and that's why we probably saw Steve Yeun, who played Glenn in The Walking Dead, play Mark Grayson.
Yes. I honestly think as well, if I was making something like this and I was casting and J.K. Simmons walked in and fucking kicked me in the balls, told me I was worth nothing, and said he wants a goddamn job, he'd get it.
Yeah. That
man has got this amazing way with acting. He showed now that he has a voice. Because I read the comics and of course, it's like on some level I had a voice in my head for everyone.
Yeah.
Obviously this character sounded different, this character on some level. But when J.K. Simmons came in, I just went, wow, that's just authoritative but not dangerous, and just kind of a grounded voice that he gave to Nolan was just fantastic. Extremely well casted.
A lot of Easter eggs and nods to the obviously there's the very outward, less subtle ones like the Guardians of the Globe, which we'll talk about in a sec. But I wanted to say there's
boy, did it remind you of someone?
You know what I mean? And you have Grayson, which is obviously Robin's surname, Dick Grayson from Batman. Robert Kirkman has quoted somewhere along the line, I think it was on Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man Beyond, where he said something along the lines of this was his Spider-Man in a lot of ways. He wanted to tell a story about a teenage superhero, and
yes,
a lot of ways Invincible is his version of what a Spider-Man story, Spider-Man-esque,
And there is the Grayson thing of being given greatness, and obviously he was given it on more of a Superman scale, but given greatness, but having to live up to an almost impossible level, because Omni-Man was in a world of people that could do amazing things. Yeah. He was, without a shadow of a doubt, the most powerful.
Yeah, he's their homeland.
He's their homelander, and having to live up to his ideology was huge. And Dick Grayson had that as well. So it was a nod to him.
Even before he became Robin, he had to live up to the whole Grayson legacy in the Carnival Circus.
Exactly, because even watching, I've seen was it Judas Contract or something, and I think it was actually Damien that fought his father. And even though he had let's just say he had more agility and he had youth on his side, it didn't matter because he was the goddamn Batman. It didn't matter that you could jump because he uses your momentum against you. He's smarter than you. He's been doing it longer. You cannot.
It's like that old saying is I taught you everything you know, but I haven't taught you everything I know.
That's exactly what it is. And obviously we see early on where Mark gets his powers, you see that he's got, even though for me or you, the guy could bite into a tank. You know what I mean? The guy is that strong, but compared to me, Nolan Grayson, still, you're literally just
And you see that in the big exchanges as well. That like, even though like, remember there's a part where Invincible punches Omni-Man near the end of the series, and he just kind of looks at him like, he's like, you gotta do better than that.
You have to do better than that.
Yeah, and he just like, and he fucking levels him, like, you know.
Oh my god, the viciousness.
It's not about having power; it's about your ability to control your power. You know what I mean?
Or learn to harness it. I suppose is the way of putting it.
It's kind of like in Man of Steel, where Superman's teach himself how to fly.
Yes,
you know, where it's one of the best scenes. You know, where he has to learn how to harness the power of the sun. Because that's where he's jumping, and it's actually the part where he closes his eyes and he allows the rays of the sun to seep into him, and he's like, when the day comes, they'll worship you like a god or something like that, and then he fucking flies off. Like,
it's a super scale of like, imagine like becoming a young man and you become very athletic, and you have a father who's athletic and trained and a fighter and all this kind of stuff, and he's like, yes, okay, so I see you can run and I see you can do that, but show me what you got. Compared to me, it's still nothing.
Yeah,
and that was so. That desperation inside of a character that was so powerful. Like you see where he grabs a meteor, and throws it back into space, and the father's just like, yeah, I mean, that's okay. You know, I'm like, bitch, he just threw a meteor that could level a quarter of the planet back into space, and he's like, yeah, I know, I guess. I'm not saying he didn't. You know?
What did you think of Sandra Oh's performance as the mother? I'll check her name.
Stellar. Pet. Her name is Pet.
Pet?
No, remember he says, I love you, I like your mother, but I think of her more as a pet.
Oh, yeah.
Do you not see all the memes that were going around and stuff like that?
Oh, Debbie Grayson.
I thought she was brilliant. I actually thought she was probably, and again, I'm getting like artistic and abstract
Sandra
here.
Oh from Grey's Anatomy, I think.
Yeah, Sandra Oh from Grey's Anatomy, Killing Eve. It's absolutely spectacular in that. But I thought she was, again, I'm getting abstract, but I thought she was the most powerful character. And did you remember, she looks at Nolan one point and says, fuck you, Nolan.
Yeah.
Like somebody who can do
she's extremely powerful. Her hold over him, as we find out later on the story, is the thing that makes him human at all.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Like, otherwise, like
as you find out what he's actually about.
Viltrumite is not.
Have you ever seen Full Metal Alchemist?
No, it looks really cool. It's on Netflix, isn't it?
It's on Netflix, but there's a I guess I can't give anything, but there's a character in that where you find out that he's bad and he's.
Do you want me to cover my ears?
No, but he says about his wife, even though like he completely betrayed her, like without a second's thought, when it was time to do so, he did say that in all my life I was destined to do this, and this is what I was told to do. And she was the only thing I chose.
Yeah,
and even though he was a monster. Like and you were great. You loved to see him like, get his comeuppance.
Yeah,
there was something like she was the only thing I chose.
Yeah,
she was the only thing outside of my grand design that was given to me.
Yeah,
she was the only thing I chose, and I remember that popped into my head.
And you think that's Debbie Grayson?
Yeah, because he didn't have to. Like I know he was like you breed and see if the Viltrumite genes can.
What do you think his real name is, or did it tell you in the comics?
I can't. I think they might tell you. You know what? He's Nolan. Throughout the entire thing, he was Nolan to me. Yeah. So yeah. I think he probably did. And you know what? I know they give him, he has a different surname, his bloodline, and they go into that and stuff like that. But yeah.
All right, cool. I won't ask questions.
Exactly,
I don't want the answer to, yeah. But, so we talked about Sandra Oh, and obviously we touched on J.K. Simmons.
There was no weakness.
Yeah,
there was no, like, why didn't they go with? Everyone sounded perfect.
Because, like, Robert Kirkman created the comic book, and he heard the voices. You say you heard voices, but he knew the voices.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? So absolutely.
It feels like to me that it was a handpicked. It's like when you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, it feels like everybody's there because James Gunn wants them to be there.
Yeah.
And that's what this
and now you can't imagine it any other way.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not always, it's quite true. They do a decent job on the whole, but it's not always true.
Yeah.
It's not. So when they do it really, especially when they do it really well against a cast of characters, and especially
an ensemble cast.
And not when everyone is not a super powered being.
Yeah.
That they're actually supposed to be almost maybe more background in terms of power, but they're still just as at the front based on sheer performance. Again, Sandra Oh was fantastic. God, there's nothing that woman can't do. I'd watch that woman read a phone book. I just think she's brilliant.
I want to talk to you about why it's Atom Eve. That's her name.
Atom Eve. That's it. She's able to rearrange
molecular
structures.
Her name was Adam and Eve.
Oh, as in no. It's a play on that.
Yeah, all right.
Atom Eve.
Because I was like, that's the dumbest fucking superhero name I've ever heard. But Atom Eve is way better
because she rearranges.
Yeah, because constantly I was like, why did it call her that? I'm like, Robert Kirkman, I really appreciate your creativity, but that was a shit name.
I think she's a spin on it, but she's very Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Actually.
Yeah, because yes, she's able to create plants, create create something from nothing. She's able to turn. There's a scene even when she's trying to get away from her parents, so she just creates a door, like a little door.
No, she closes the door.
Does she create one and close it? I think.
What she does is she puts like a portal or energy shield over the door and removes the door.
Exactly. Unmixed. Then it's probably the better word. Yeah, fair enough. So she's stupidly powerful, but again, it just showed like it was funny because they had all these people with all like the tactician and but none of it really came to anything in the sheer face of what Nolan was.
Yeah, like
he was a world destroyer.
Yeah.
He literally was a world destroyer. They had the whole scene where
I love. Actually, yeah, no, because I'll pick up on your points. You're talking about one of my favorite episodes of the whole run. You talking about the interdimensional time traveling?
Yes, where time moves so it's differently, and
that's one of the best pieces of storytelling I've seen in a long time. Like it's so
when Mark goes back to his mother, Debbie.
Yeah,
and he says, "Oh, like Dad went through the portal after them, and blah 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 blah." Like, and she's going, "Is that all?"
Yeah, she's like, I'll put in the tea or something.
Yeah, and then he comes back with a beard, and he's just fine.
I fucking love though that sequence where he goes through the show him what happened after he went through the portal, and he goes in and he's like, the first guy he takes out is the guy with the one eye.
Yes, like, the guy that survived like I think 2 previous battles up to the and he was like the war. Like for him, he'd been doing this for 30 years. He was war hardened. He was determined.
It just reminded me that
and
scene.
He was a piece of shit.
In Pickle Rick, who's actually up on our wall up here. But Pickle Rick, the episode where he kills the giant rat. And he goes, I'm sure to get a name for you like Scar or something.
Yeah, I know. You're probably noticing I didn't give you a cool name. yeah. That's because to me you are.
Because I was like, when I was looking at that scene, I was like, that's probably what he's like. And I was like, oh, they probably called you king.
That was also foreshadowing.
Yeah.
As in when he just lets loose.
Yeah. The devastation.
It wasn't saving cats from trees.
Yeah.
That's what he is like when you just let him. So it doesn't matter that you're able to create barriers or move in shadows or something like that. It doesn't matter.
It kind of falls back to what Ben Affleck's Batman said in Batman vs Superman. If there's a 1% chance that he can be our enemy, then we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
Yeah,
he's so powerful.
At that level of power, it'd be like a nuclear bomb sitting absent in the middle of Central Park, and you're kind of going, no. All our data says that there's less than a 1% chance of it going off. You're going, so what? We're ignoring it.
Because like that 1%, if it does go off, is catastrophic.
We even feel that way about countries and like, oh, how much power can we? Like, people are like, oh, Iran, what if they get nuclear? We do think. People do think, and it becomes a part of a political debate. And you're thinking, but imagine if a person just fuck that, not a sovereign nation, but an actual human being. It's fucking terrifying.
And the fact that he's from another planet means that he's no allegiance to anybody on this planet. Outside his family, which is very minimal, as we find out later on in it.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like, because you think like his family make him this like superhuman, Superman. But what it really is, like, the family's a blip in this massive life cycle.
And he's a life cycle of like 5,000 years or something like that. So I think he realize it was just infinitesimal.
Yeah, I think his is much longer than Mark's would be because Mark is not.
He said you're almost full Viltrumite. Yeah, so he would have a lifespan of thousands of years.
So you're talking like Thor or something.
Yeah, exactly. But he was obviously born to 2 Viltrumite parents. He was probably at this stage a few thousand years old.
Yeah, exactly. Because
never really touched it. He's just like again.
And the older they get, the slower the age.
The older they get, the slower the age. Yeah, you're going to see characters going forward, bit grey. You know what I mean? You just know they're more.
It's
badass.
kind of like that song. It's like, I wish I knew what I knew now when I was young.
Yeah,
and that's the thing with them. They're getting the maturity of experience, but they're not aging at the same rate. So that's why they're so lethal. You know what I mean? Like,
and just the fearlessness of battle, and also like Nolan was trying to teach Mark that even though you can like fly around the globe in 4.5 minutes or whatever, I made up that like that's what I don't know what
it's probably less.
Remember they were throwing playing catch, and they were back to back, and they were throwing the ball literally around the globe.
That's when Superman did that before, didn't he? With someone did
Superman. There was a scene I think in Superman 2 where a guy shows up and he throws a ball with Clark, and Clark fluffs every single one. And then your man's like, don't worry about it, and he leaves, and then Clark just, when he's gone, he just hits the ball, throws the ball in the air and just hits it, and he sends it into space because he couldn't hit the ball with the guy there. Could you
imagine though, like you're in the ISS?
Yeah. And of all things, yeah.
Or back
that's the thing. If I had those powers, I wouldn't be like, oh, I want to take over the world. What'd you do with it?
Yeah.
No, I'd just be messing with people.
Yeah,
I
would probably take.
I put like an Annabelle doll up in his space.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'd probably try and take over the world.
Yeah, no, probably.
Like if I'm superhuman and I think I can live forever, and I'm like, all these people are no match for me. Like for a couple 100 years, I'll probably chill, and after I get bored, I'm probably like, I'm going to take them over.
Anyway, please subscribe.
I'd be like, total global domination. What else have I got to do? I lived through the Babylonian age.
Well, I think, well, to be honest with you, that's the thing. If you lived for 4,000 years, you would go crazy, literally crazy, and especially at the folly of man.
Yeah,
like you would have seen it all. You would have seen how many chances and opportunities.
Yeah,
through. Well,
that's because a lot of it's a kind of a trope in vampires things. The older the vampire, the more nihilistic they are.
Yeah,
because what they've seen.
Because the hatred grows.
Yeah,
exactly. Hatred grows because that's the only thing that's certain is that they're not that we have not as a species, showered ourselves in glory. Like,
well, we're doing all right though.
We're doing all right. We're still here.
Doing all right. 6 billion of us.
Well, this podcast exists, so I guess we're not doing too bad.
But like, so we kind of talked about the cast and stuff. So like, I want to talk about the kind of more peripheral characters. In a sense, like Angela, who's played by Zazie Beetz, and then his friend. He's not his sidekick, but he's.
Well, he's not his sidekick in the sense that he doesn't go on adventures with him, but he's his confidant. Is probably a better word.
Yeah. William Clockwell.
Everyone knows William
played
Clockwell.
by Andrew Renalis or something. But like, what do you think of them as kind of like for lack of better comparison, but like the Ned and MJ from the Spider-Man movies? That's kind of what they're war.
Yeah, that's it. He's somebody that keeps him grounded because he was just this normal dorky 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And even though he was bringing rubbish out the back to throw into the skip, and he threw it in space, and his powers kicked in literally in that moment.
What do you make of the way they do reveals like that in this? They're not very climactic. Like
because I don't know. I always think the way these days in horror and stuff, we kind of they show you the world and things just are. And a lot of people say, "Oh God, that's cheap storytelling." And I'm like, "Well, would that not be if 28 days later happened and you just woke up in it? You just wake up in it. If the internet's down and the radios are gone dark, you wouldn't know shit."
Total side note, but I got my first dose of the vaccine the other day, and they're come back in 28 days.
Ooh.
And I'm 28 days later.
28
you want me to come back 28 days later?
Yeah.
And I'm like, could you not just add a day to that?
I don't know. I'm very, very pro vaccine since I got the Moderna. My internet connection has just improved dramatically for some reason.
5G nanobots in your system.
Yeah.
And
I just want to spend a little bit of money on those great range of Windows products.
Yeah. But so what did you think Zazie Beetz as Angela? Because I want to kind of blast through the characters a little bit because I want to start talking about the cool shit, the superheroes and the villains and stuff. But what did you make of Zazie Beetz? Kind of her character was very similar to Zendaya maybe in the first half of Spider-Man Homecoming. She's very quick to kind of figure things out later on.
And she calls him on his shit.
Yeah,
she was a great character because she it was kind of like he still wanted the things that teenage boys want.
Yeah, it's the balancing act. Is what
he wanted, a girl, and he wanted to date, and he wanted to
very like Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I thought the most triumphant fucking scene for her was when she goes back up to her room after telling him to go fuck himself because he flaked on her 9 times by this stage. Yeah. 9 is a big number. Probably 3 though, in big ways.
And in an animated woman, she's a smoke show.
Oh, she's an absolute smoke. Well done on that collection of pixels. But she comes in the room and he's like, "I'm invincible," and she just doesn't give a fuck. And you have to respect that.
Yeah.
As in, not even that's going to cut the fucking mustard,
Yeah.
So she was great. She had characters that were trying to keep him grounded because he still was going to school.
Yeah. And you want to show the differential between him and his father. His father is steeped in
Viltrumite.
Viltrumite, is it?
Viltrumite,
is
yeah.
it Viltrumite?
Is he? Viltrumite was Viltrumite the planet, and he's Viltrumite.
Is it something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
But his father's steeped in that culture, whereas
of course,
him and Mark
since the age of the Romans.
Yeah, exactly. But Mark is steeped in humanity.
Exactly. He's still doing math.
He's a modern teenager.
He's still doing math and English and stuff like that. And his mother still wants that for him.
Yeah,
which is which is he has a grounding influence all around him with this two huge exceptions of his father being who his father is and the fact he got powers.
Yeah.
So he's terrible at the balancing act, which I loved.
Yeah,
because I think it's boring when they're really good at it.
Yeah, when you're 17 years old, you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like, you know
exactly.
What I mean?
Yeah,
and if you're adding superpowers to the fact that you want to hook up with this smoke show or whatever, and like it's going to be impossible to like you have this one part of your like your impetus or whatever is leaning towards I want to impress my father, I want to follow him in the footsteps, I want to show him what I can do, and the other one's like I want to impress this girl, I want to be a 17-year-old. Like it's like I want to have these two different the two different destinies. One is like I want to live a normal life as much as I can as Mark Grayson, and the other thing is I want to fulfill my destiny as Invincible. You know what I mean?
And shit, of course, like in all superhero things, the only thing that's consistent is shit just happens.
Yeah.
And like you're there with her and you promise you're not going to, like, the really, the milk it is in, like, no, I promise I'll be there. And look how here I am. And then, the call comes through. And what can you do? You don't get to not go.
Yeah.
Not when you're like, what, the second most powerful being, tops the third most powerful being on the planet.
It's like you said one day, earlier podcast, like, no matter what, Spider-Man has to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, like, no matter what, he's invincible 24 hours a day.
Because so to disappoint somebody, everyone's felt that. It's one of the worst. Everyone's always said, like, when you come home and your parents are screaming at you, it's bad. But when you come home and your parents aren't, it's an awful lot worse.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that has to be measured against the fact that people are absolutely going to die and die quite horribly unless you spring into action. And there can't be if you are to live like what we might call a moral life, there can't.
Yeah.
You have to take that hit.
Yeah,
I'm about to
segue the fuck out of this. Right?
Yeah, go for it.
And the reason, like, it's so important that he has to answer the call is because there's a fucking shortness of heroes at the moment because the
for some reason,
the Guardians of the Globe, who we talked about a little bit earlier, it's touched on, is like this kind of this universe's Justice League, they get fucking wiped out at the end of episode 1.
It's a sedentary drama for no reason. But that's it. They get absolutely
segue.
Oh God, what a fucking scene!
Yeah. Oh, that's one of the best. Like the action. We talked about this before we started. The reaction is ridiculous, but it's one of the best fight scenes I've seen in a long time in any format.
Oh yeah, you can't stress it enough. Because it's brutal. Because like you watch Avengers and they're fighting for their lives, and that's true. But essentially, like. I remember it was at the start of the second
violence without consequence.
Yeah, it was the start of the third Civil War, and Captain America, he jumps into a building and everyone's got guns, but he jumps through the window and throws his shield and he ends up taking out like 4 or 5 of them, and he does all these cool acrobatics and he kicks the shit out of people. So it was cool, but it wasn't brutal.
Yeah,
like this fight was right off the bat brutal. Yeah. This guy is here to kill you. And he's not even like, you're probably wondering why I'm here to kill you. He didn't bother with that shit.
Yeah.
This was literally...
Why do you think he killed him in that moment? Just to weaken Earth?
Well, the thing is, when he's saying, right, my son, we can breed here.
Yeah. We
can make Vulturemites. We can take over this world. But so the only people, the closest, not that they're as strong as him, but together, maybe they could stand in his way. So if he can catch them off guard, which he could, because they trusted him.
Yeah, and then I love that scene. Sorry to cut across, but when they get the signal, and there's like they all get the beep and they're all leaving, and then you have Red Rush saying goodbye to his girlfriend or whatever, and then like it didn't even dawn on me for a split second that Omni-Man was after turning. Like I seen a villainous turn in him. There was something about him, and J.K. Simmons was playing him as well.
There was a little bit of a darkness there that they alluded to, and for an animation, they did really well to get that across.
Yeah, because he punched his son in the chest when they're training, like really, really hard and shit.
Because this is what, because he was treating him what it was like to be in an actual fight.
Yeah, and the way he was raised in Vulturemind.
You absolutely do not fuck around.
Yeah, and like I love the scene because like for that split second that you don't realize that he's turned bad, and then all of a sudden you touched upon it earlier. Things like when Red Rush pulls the Immortal out of the way.
Yeah,
and then
it's just the fist coming in, and it was already chills.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got absolute chills because then he just appears in the middle room. He hasn't killed anybody yet, and he ends up like. But the thing is, it shows just how powerful they are because they unload on him.
Yeah,
and they do land.
Yeah,
like they land. Actually, in the end, they land thousands of hits on him.
Yeah, because if you're fighting the Justice League,
you're fighting. Yeah, especially if one guy can hit you 3,000 times a second or something bonkers, and the Batman character is throwing bombs.
Darkwing.
I think it was War Woman that said, "Look, it's either him or us to the Immortal," and he said, "I choose us."
Yeah, that's a great scene. Actually,
it's a great scene. Yeah. And then they realized. Then at that point, they all decided, well, we have to kill him.
Yeah,
like even if his mind has been taken over, which
it's a fight to the death.
Yeah, it's a fight because he's not. It's not going to be
he's killed Red Rush at this stage, and he's also
that's it. He kills Red Rush.
He killed the fish guy, their version of Aquaman. What was his name?
Oh God, that was so funny. I like the fact that he's just a fish. Like why not? Well, he's just like he could be like Fishman basically.
What was his name? God damn it. What was his name? Aquarius. Played by Ross Marquand, another guy from
Aquarius.
The Walking Dead.
Well, it was not the age of Aquarius. He was fucking demolished.
Are you kind of like sick and tired a little bit of these alternate versions of Justice League?
Well, I thought this one was particularly funny.
And the fact that they wiped him out pretty quickly. Yeah. Because
they had literally Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
They had Batman.
Martian boyfucker.
Yeah.
What's he doing with that kid? Like?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they had Superman, I guess, a bit in the Immortal. You know, he was a godlike figure who's been around forever. They had War Woman, who was like so Wonder Woman on the T, like you know.
Yeah, it's every bit as much as Queen Maeve. Like,
exactly. And but it just kind of went, fuck your Justice League. They're not going to be here for you. And it was great. It was sad. It was powerful. It introduced proper despair.
Yeah.
Because in one scene, the most powerful hero became the enemy, and the second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever most powerful heroes all died.
Yeah.
Now that's such a dangerous shift for the world in dynamics.
Yeah.
Where you had this team of 6.
Yeah.
And then you had this one surviving member, and the rest were wiped out. And what little beknownst to you, at least at this moment, is he's the one who did it. It just screams fucked. You're fucked.
Because like in the opening sequence, you see how much more powerful Omni-Man is than them, but you don't really, because like, well, he is just taking out bad guys, like, which is, you know, in par for the course. But then when you see like the real strength of a superhero against other superheroes, and he's like taking out I think it's 6 of them, isn't it? He fights. And
there was just to make it simple, there was the Fast one, the Fish one, the Wonder Woman one, the Batman one, and the Martian Manhunter one. So that's 5 to me, and perhaps I'm forgetting someone.
There's like the Aquarius. There is Darkwing. There was War Woman. The Immortal, and I think that's in Red Rush.
Red Rush.
I think that's all of them, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course his death. We can't just brush over it.
Yeah.
Because obviously we were seeing it from his perspective of time being extremely slowed down.
Yeah.
So obviously when you're getting your head crushed, and it's happening it's like a vice being slowly turned.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about the strength of it. You can't get out of it. But he's punching and punching and punching. But he's punching so many times that even Omni-Man is getting hurt.
Yeah.
But his fingers and wrists have broken. What else is there for him to do except fight? And he's punching him with the nubs.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck me, that's brutal.
Yeah, and his eye explodes.
And his eye popping out of his head and stuff. Like, oh my God.
Robert Kirkman likes a good eye popping, doesn't he?
He does like a good eye popping. And the way they killed War Woman as well, just the 180-degree neck break.
Yeah.
Like, just fully turned.
It's so personal. It's such a personal way to kill someone, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're nearly trying to rip their fucking head off.
Oh, that's it. But what I loved about him is that the non-gimmicky nature. He can fly. That's a superpower, absolutely. He's fast. That's a superpower. Man, he's strong, as in strong.
Yeah.
As in stronger than 10,000 men. Stronger than 100,000 men.
Stronger than a War Woman.
Stronger than a War Woman.
Yeah.
There's a dude that could catch a meteorite the size of Texas out of space, flying 80,000 miles an hour, and just throw that bitch back. That's how.
Do you remember when he went into the alien universe and how he got back was? He actually had an asteroid.
Like holding it over them, and they created a port. And then, like, obviously, he probably promised them he'd let them live or whatever. Yeah. He just lets that go and he just goes home. And
that's another part for us to see his vicious side.
Absolutely.
His genocidal side, if you will.
Oh, yeah. It was to see us. Because, I mean, I'm a big DC guy, and, like, Sinestro, Lex Luthor, I mean, you're talking Darkseid levels.
Yeah.
That's about the only person I know who would be as quick to just wipe people out.
Yeah.
He was Superman, but he was actually Darkseid.
Yeah, even Thanos left half.
Even Thanos left. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, Thanos had like cause.
Yeah.
Like, albeit a completely amoral one, but he actually thought ultimately he was restoring balance to the universe.
Yeah.
No, but this was just like, you attacked me, so I'm
was
going to
kind of
completely
proven,
wipe. And don't get me right, they were the attacking force, but just brutality. You see flying through buildings so fast that they explode instead of crumble.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an excellent scene. Another one I've revisited more than once.
So, like, what did you think of the kind of the different lineups of villains we got throughout the series? Where it's like nearly, it's like it was kind of like the monster of the week, nearly, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
What did you make of, like, we already talked about the interdimensional time traveling aliens with the tachyon readers and all this stuff, and that was one of my favorite episodes. Like where and it was reminding me something so much like Fringe, where the science is complicated, but it's clear enough explained that you have a perfect understanding of it. You know what I mean? Like as soon as they started to die off, I was like, oh, maybe they can't live in our dimension or some shit. And then
the air or something.
You know what I mean? Like, so maybe they're doing like a skirmish, and I love the way like they're, because of their time advancement, they'd go back and it's like 3 days for us, and then they come back and they have these fucking wristwatches or something that
they've advanced in technology in that time. Because like as much as 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in that couple of days has passed. It was and they're always like Rick and Morty have fun with stuff like that, and Star Trek has had fun with stuff like that, like the perception of time or the experience of time and being a lot faster or slower depending on which side of the coin
Chris
you're on.
Nolan is just like gone crazy with shit.
Absolutely. But it is, like, I mean, it's good. It's mind fucking,
right,
like, and they have fun with. At that point, you realise that this, despite it being this is when a lot of parents were letting their kids watch it and went, "What the fuck?"
How many people do you think stopped watching at the end of episode 1?
Oof.
Probably at least 30% of all kids.
Oh, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I mean, I wasn't. For me, it's like, whoa. You know what I mean? Like,
it's
so I
really
can't speak for
grabber.
every demographic. I think, like, if you had an idea of what you're in for, that's one thing.
Like, have you ever seen a show explode so many people's heads?
No,
oh my god,
big into it, weren't they?
Do you remember the part where he fucking Invincible saves a guy? He's like a fighter pilot,
yeah.
And he saves him. He's like,
brings him to the ground. Yeah.
He's like, thanks, man. You saved my life. I really thought it was a gunner there, and he just couldn't.
And like a grape.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
A grape.
The power of Omni-Man is.
And
insane.
when I say like a grape, as in that's how I would be able to squeeze a grape.
Yeah.
As in that with between two fingers, I could create enough force, and that's what a human skull is to him. You know what I mean? And he goes, "Hey, you care about this guy? Yeah, well, boom. See, that's what they are. They're nothing. They're nothing." And he was trying to impress upon. Of course, that's nothing compared to the train scene.
Yeah, the train scene's ridiculous.
Holding him, because obviously he's dense enough to go through a train and
this
like
is so expensive to make as a movie.
Oh no, that's what we were talking about that before we started recording. Insane money,
insanely expensive.
And again, I didn't feel cheapened by watching it in animation because it was just so perfectly done.
Yeah.
The sound effects and everything.
I don't think any medium lends itself to it as much as animation would. With those heads exploding and the style of it, the illustrations.
And just the gratuitousness that you can get away with in animation at the minute. You just can. Because it's not real, it's not blood, it's not anything, it's red. It's red colouring, you know, as opposed to...
What did you think of the clones? They were fucking brilliant. I'm the original. I thought that's so genius. It's such a genius thing to do, though.
I thought, like, naming you one that can reproduce itself, duplicate.
Yeah.
And her brother, Multi-Paul.
Is her brother coming to it later?
Yeah, she's brother called Multi-Paul.
Oh,
spoiler! Yeah. Sorry, you know what? I'm sorry. And maybe I should have put a spoiler alert because that was a very small one. Like, there's more superheroes.
Well, what do you think of the clones, the two blue dudes?
Oh, I mean, I love them because especially when the whole thing, their whole ethos is that they do it in such a way where they can't be sure who the original actually is.
Yeah.
So that they can actually work as equal partners.
Yeah.
But they're both fully assured that they're the original.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
It's fucking brilliant.
Oh,
and
yeah. No,
I love the way, like, no character is wasted in this. Like, earlier...
We haven't even said robot.
Yeah,
we haven't touched robot.
No, yeah, because I was going to...
Oh, yeah, no, fair enough.
I was going to circle
so many
back
characters,
to the new Guardians of the Globe. But I was just going to say that, like, I love the way he doesn't really waste any characters in this, because you see the two clones appear in episode 1, they kind of disappear and then they come back into it again later on.
Yes.
And it was the same with the guy, I think, do you know the guy who turns to a rock? You see him for a split second in the earlier episodes, one of Invincible's first villains to tangle with, and then he comes back and he has this really cool story arc and he becomes like a fucking kingpin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
literally.
Yeah.
And having had Invincible help him do it all.
Yeah, exactly.
So it shows that he's got that kind of literal kingpin he becomes the kingpin, but he has that kingpin approach as in, using his own enemies to forward his own ends because they had a mutually assured enemy. So it was, he's clever. That's it. Nobody was just a...
What was his character's name?
Funny plot device.
Titan.
Played
by Mahershala Ali.
I know that name.
Mahershala Ali's going to be playing a new Blade.
Yeah. Okay, I can picture him. Yeah.
I was going to just check your cheat sheet and click on him because I can't show you the image because the way we have set up. But so like do you have any other villains that you wanted to talk about a little bit from the kind of monster of the week? Cause
there was that dragon old man, whatever the fuck he was.
Like a play on Fing Fang Foom.
Very much so a play on Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah.
And everything was like, at this time, there's sometimes you're just thinking, dude, make up your own things, and then sometimes you're thinking, why not have fun and just have inversions?
He's wearing his influences on his sleeves,
exactly. And I kind of unabashedly, and there's just something about that makes it acceptable to me.
Even that line
as opposed to
Angela
like,
goes, go get him, Tiger. Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just that it's kind of like so instead of like a rip off, it almost feels like a thank you.
Yeah, it's
like
an homage.
I know you came first.
Emulation, not imitation.
And, or imitation being as flattery.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, no, he was 100% kind of straight up about it.
Yeah.
But they weren't the main characters. The main characters were a creation of his.
Robert Kirkman always comes across such an honest person, though.
He does.
Like, anytime I've heard it, he's very honest about his humble background, how he had to grind to kind of make it from his first few failed comic books to Walking Dead success and into writers' rooms, how he developed as a writer and how he developed the Image comics, and how it was very much a process for him. And I think that's kind of left him grounded in a lot of ways, in the ways he likes to keep his characters grounded. Like in Mark Grayson and Rick Grimes, these kind of pivotal characters in these two.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I love that they're never like, he doesn't go Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Like, well, Mark Grayson is a little bit Boy Scout, but at the same time, you get this thing of like a clean slate. Yeah. He literally did not know going into it the brutality of it or what would be, and to be fair, what would be expected. He's only 17, and he had the world thrown at him.
Yeah,
and this world, this absolutely insane, bonkers world.
Yeah,
and it's the same with Rick Grimes and stuff like that. Rick Grimes was like an upstanding citizen, but when it came to my people versus your people, or when it came to tough decisions being made so that my son can walk away, that sort of thing, then it showed that he had that brutal survivor and thing, and it's good. It's that, like, again, we'll get wankery, holds a mirror up to humanity. But what would you do? Because you like to think, I'd never. But you're a father.
There's a balance in
I wouldn't like to think I'd be fucking the first thing on the grill if it came down to it.
You have to hold on to who you are, but also adapt to where you are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
you're still a product of who you were, but you have to. Yeah, exactly.
So, no, we talked about the Guardians of the Globe and how they got killed and shit, and we talked a little bit about the different villains.
Killed to shit, man.
Killed to shit.
Very few people have ever been killed to shit like that.
Well, one of them comes back.
Rasputin, he comes to mind.
They killed him like 7 times. Yeah, that guy was like a motherfucker, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was fucking mothers.
Hung like a fucking horse as well.
Fair enough.
No, they have his dick in a museum. Seriously.
Jesus, we went off track very quickly.
I think we should keep all that. That's what the people are here for.
No, I think so.
The penis museum stuff. If we lose our penis museum quote of people, we have nothing.
We're massive in the penis museum community.
Oh, massive in half that's true.
But so we talked about different relationships that he has, like that Omni-Man shares with, like, Deborah, his wife, and the way he interacts with Invincible. Now we talked a bit about Angela. We talked a bit about
a little bit about Aunt Maeve. I don't think we've kind of really. She's such a pivotal. Like, she's secondary. She's literally the secondary character, as much as Debbie is. Yeah,
the reason I only touched on Aunt Maeve a little bit earlier was because I wanted to keep it for this part where the Guardians of the Globe were killed at the end of episode 1, and so most of the first season, the kind of opening third of it is filled with the assembly of this new Guardians of the Globe, and that is being put in. The guy we talked about a little bit, Cecil, played by Walton Goggins, and he has put the robot who we seen. Is it the Teen Team? Is that the name of them? Is it?
I thought they were the New Guardians or some shit.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
Is it? No, not their name when they take over. I mean,
yeah.
Because there was another group that we see earlier on that has like Rexplode. It has Atom Eve, Duplicate.
You're not allowed to make anything without Jason Mantzoukas. You're just not. It's illegal now. I just watched America, the motion picture, and of course he's
TikTok, Mr.
John Adams or something like that in it. Like it's just he's in Big Mouth. It's just illegal. I don't think they're allowed to do it.
But what did you make of like? Pretty much it's a big part of this because so many pivotal characters in like Rexplode. We're like, I'll just kind of jump ahead. So like. Robot is given the command of assembling this new Guardians of the Globe by Cecil, and we see a kind of the stereotypical training montage where where he's putting a team together.
Monster Girl,
and we get introduced exactly to all these characters. Monster Girl, the shrinking girl. What the fuck was her name?
Well, she was so inconsequential to me.
Yeah, but I'm sure she'll like. I haven't read the comics, but I say she'll probably expand a little bit. But what was her name again? So yeah, it was Robot, Rexplode, Black Samson, Duplicate, and there was shit. What was that one?
Shrinky Dinky. That's what we'll call
Monster
her.
Girl and shit. Because I know you're one Grey Griffin that does Monster Girl's voice. She does her voice as well.
Does she now?
Yeah, she does both of her voices.
Never picked up on that. That's interesting.
I only seen it because when you click on Amazon, it shows you who's cast as who in that scene at that time. But I can't remember her name. What was her name? Shrinking Girl. Shit, this is terrible. But I can't remember. But like, so we see the assembly of this fucking new Guardians of the Globe. And what did you think of the power system? Because like I was saying to you, the original Guardians of the Globe reminded me too much of the Justice League, and I'm kind of a bit done.
Purposely so.
Yeah, of course, purposely so. Like the way the Seven in the boys remind us of Justice League on purpose. Like, but it's kind of done to death. I love the way that these are completely different. Like these are like very original.
Shrinking Ray.
Yeah, Shrinking Ray. Is that her name?
R-A-E.
Yeah. So Shrinking Ray obviously is like his play on Ant-Man.
Yeah, big
time. Or Atom from DC.
Exactly.
Or in China.
Who are even there play on each other. Like
yeah, exactly. And but like obviously that's a nod to ones that we know. But I loved Monster Girl.
Love Monster Girl.
It was such a clever,
complicated character.
So she's a 25-year-old woman. I think she's 24 to start, and she turns 25 in it. Who has been cursed to have the ability to transform herself into a monster, but everything.
I'm going to go with the word monstrify.
But
I'm sticking with it.
So she hulks out, for lack of a better term, and
that's exactly it. Actually, when you say it, she is a Hulk. She turns into a big green.
Of course, she's the Hulk.
Almost limitlessly.
Do you think
monster.
It's kind of nearly like these are my version of the DC characters? They're all dead now. These are my version of Marvel. characters.
Yeah, no, he touched on everyone. Yeah, he touched on everyone.
I know Atom Eve was very Green Lantern.
I was surprised. You don't really get a Wolverine or anything, so I was almost surprised.
Is Immortal Wolverine?
Well, he comes by, he fucking heals.
And he even
like
has that beard.
Oh, good point.
Look at the chops, and then
he's got touch. He's got a touch.
Yeah, touch
like hard to kill, gritty, anti-hero. Like,
and he's lived too many wars. Like we've seen a flashback. So maybe he sees Wolverine. Yeah, maybe.
A smidge of him in it.
Yeah, a smidge of the Wolverine.
And just a smidge of Wolverine.
Yeah. That's his cameo in Days of Future Past, where he tells a man to fuck off or something.
Yeah,
that's a smidge of Wolverine. But what did you make of the new lineup in comparison to the old lineup and the influences and like the new characters? That like Monster Girl was a really cool power set, and a 25-year-old woman that was cursed.
She gets younger every time she uses her power.
Yeah, exactly. By a week, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a toll. The price to pay.
Yeah.
For a massive amount of power. I love that, and especially because they were kind of the new kids on the block, and they had a lot to prove, and they had attitude, especially Rexplode, hot-headed and all that kind of shit. And
it'd be like if the Justice League got killed and Teen Titans took over for them or something.
It's exactly that, though, isn't it? Like it really is, because all of a sudden you're brought into the A-League. Yeah. You're brought to the top of the queue.
5 or 10 years before you should have.
5 or 10 years easily before you should have. Yeah, exactly. You're still a bit wet behind the ears, so probably like over eager. You got that sense from them.
And why do you think Robot was on their team? It kind of seems so out of place.
Yeah, well, you needed a tactician, you needed the brains of the operation, and he was obviously Definitely the best robot for the job, or is he?
Great fucking character.
Great character. Again, very complicated. A lot more. It turns out a lot more to him than what you originally had to believe. Because I thought, oh, it's Iron Man.
Yeah.
You know, well, I knew because I read the comics, but I thought, okay, he's this Iron Man. Literally, he's a suit of armor that can fly, and he's all this kind of crazy tech, and he's insanely intelligent.
Yeah.
So he's Iron Man. But obviously, again, the same way Immortal might be a touch Wolverine, he's a touch Iron Man.
Yeah.
Then there's an awful lot more to him.
The backstory for that dude.
The backstory for that dude is great.
Earlier on, so pretty much we see. So after Robot becomes the kind of the leader of this new Guardians of the Globe, he's a very shadowy character in a lot of ways. You see a lot of shots with him up to something in the dark, in the shadows, up to something.
And because he's a robot, or whatever, there's never an expression on his face. So sometimes for lack of a better word, the camera, the angle that we're perceiving it from, it just stops on him sometimes.
It's so neutral.
And it's so visual, and you're kind of thinking he's up to something, or is he? Because it's not like he doesn't have a game face.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't have a poker face. Yeah. You know, he's just is. So there was a lot there.
Do you know that scene? What I was going to say was, do you remember when we see this malformed person, creature, whatever, in this like incubation tube or whatever, and the robot's staring at him, and they don't even touch upon it again for ages. Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about, where he doesn't waste characters.
Oh no,
he does this constantly in this.
He storyboards everyone. Nobody came in. You never got the feeling that he was like, okay, so I'm going to make a robot dude. Actually, and then maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 comics later, you think, you know what? Actually, I'm going to change that up, and I'm going to do that. No, that was storyboarded to fuck. Like, even to that point of like all good stuff, like all the good anime that I've read. Like, if I just finished Attack on Titan, you're kind of 5, 6 years of foreshadowing that you just knew that he was way ahead of the game. Like he wrote a huge story inside of his head, and he was giving it to you in pieces. And that's just how great Robert Kirkman is.
Like, I've done a smidge of writing, and the most important thing is an outline for me. Like, if you don't have a very detailed outline, if you don't know where you're going with your story, if you want to, it's all good and well, let your story lead you where you want to go, but you need to tell your story where it's going. Like, it's like a horse. Yes. If you don't pull on the reins every now and again, you're going to get...
And it's always great when, like, let's just say a good guy turns out to be a bad guy, and you kind of go, you know what? That makes that interaction make sense. Yeah. As opposed to just completely out of left field. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm betraying you because I was offered money. Yeah. Or some shit like that. And if you know where nothing was cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know where the story's going as a creator, then you can make those little moments mean something in retrospect to the audience. Whereas it didn't mean something to you in that moment because you know where the story's going. But because the audience don't, they'll find out in retrospect. Yes. And the only way to do that is if you have a very detailed outline, in my opinion.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that just reeked of that, didn't it? It just reeked of good storytelling.
Yeah. And that's what Robert Kirkman does.
Exactly. Because eventually you got to the point, I do think it gets to a point with a really good show where you start to almost underappreciate because it's just great and you're just enjoying it. And so you start to expect that's the standard it's set for itself.
And then it has an 8th season.
Yeah. And then it has an 8th season. Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
Our weekly dose of like, seriously, Game of Thrones, why?
I should say, winter is coming. It'll be brief. It'll be brief. Wouldn't worry too much. You know, just huddle down by the fire for about, 8 hours.
But like, so what did you think of the way, like, when we seen because like, I kind of want to just jump into Robot because like, it's such an interesting character. When we see later on his story, he's this shadowy character. He's up to all this stuff, and you see that he's taking a liking to Monster Girl and all this kind of thing.
In a big way, yeah.
Because he sees himself in her.
Yes.
An ostracized person that's kind of cursed to their own fate, malformed or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like thinking, I think for a long time he wanted to die, and she's his reason for wanting to try and live again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
somebody who can understand his pain and somebody who can relieve him from it. And everyone... Again, like, you love when something's put on such a huge meta scale, but it's something so incredibly relatable. Yeah, even just youth, or or just a lack of understanding, just for some. Because we've met, you go through shit in your own life, and you meet somebody who's gone through it, and there is an unbelievable kindred spirit that can happen there.
It's when he becomes cloned, and he says, "Now that I've saved myself, I'll have enough time to save you."
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So pretty much the only reason he actually took that risk of cloning himself and actually killing his original self.
Yes, because the cloning process was just that, is that you, as you are in that moment, are lifted and transposed into a body. Yeah. So from your perspective, it's you going forward. You're
well,
saying,
from the clone's perspective, he's you.
Exactly. From the clone's perspective.
Because
he's like, I closed my eyes and I opened up,
and
I'm here and you're dying. And he said, yeah, well, like we knew that.
Yeah.
Like we knew that.
Yeah.
I just think
that's such a good scene.
Yeah, that should be my story. It's just so.
Do you remember like the big reveal when the robot comes out and he goes to the clones, move out of the way, and then like this yoke comes out.
Hulkbuster.
Yeah, I was like, what? No, not the part with the robots later on.
Sorry.
No, the part with the big reveal that we finally find out that robot is controlled by this malformed guy telepathically or whatever through a neural link. Elon Musk,
and that's
a big fan of
his IQ is probably at least 900, 1,000.
Yeah, like a brainiac.
But even the air itself, which is it's great because you have one thing juxtaposed against something else. It's incredibly powerful and incredibly fragile.
And the reason he's so fragile is because he's so incredibly intelligent.
Exactly.
Because the clones talk about how his motor functions and shit are being crushed by his gigantic cerebrum or something.
And he's constantly learning.
Yeah.
And growing. Yeah. And he can't help it. I suppose he probably could help it if he just isolated himself.
Yeah.
But he obviously wanted to do something with his life, even at the cost of it. Such an interesting character.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying, because he veered away. He's like, oh, here's my Justice League on the nose. And then he replaces them with like, you have a monster girl who's cursed to
no Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I know Duplicate is like being done multiple man and all this like stuff. But so he kind of was like, here's my influences. I want to include like Ant-Man, which is Shrinking Ray.
Yeah.
I want to include Duplicate, which I think it's Multiple Man. It's not his name. Multiple from.
Multiple Man is an X-Man.
Is he? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking,
and that's it. Like he's Prime, as long as the Prime isn't killed. And with Duplicate, they're all Prime. As in, if she makes 10 and you kill 9, then whatever one was left is Prime.
Yeah, I don't want to condone cheating, but like Rexplode, if you're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tree girls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like imagine being the clone that just finger up the bum. You're just kind of there, just for the finger up the bum.
I just think like she'd be a very interesting person to go out with. Is all I'm
saying. I think that'd be interesting. Yeah. Although I'd say she could hold her own in the old drinking.
Imagine it. She's got like 3 livers.
Yeah. I know I'm going to get laid, but the bar tab is $8 million.
It's like you're fucking collecting the tab on an army, like you know what I mean, like.
I went to a disco and I pulled them all.
Yeah, it's me and the platoons of kids.
Get on the bus, you've all pulled.
So, like, who was Rexplode? Could you see any influences in his creation? Or?
Gambit. He was Gambit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because even the same thing, he couldn't put a kinetic charge into anything organic.
Yeah. Only inanimate objects.
Yeah, there was a very short-lived series of him and
Gambit?
Of Rexplode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there was just one thing. This is just so tiny that I feel free to say it. And he's on a mission like to take somebody out, and he goes to I think Japan or something, and he goes through the airport security, and all he has is 3 baseballs. And he says some shit like about he's going to get them signed, but you have to understand that they're 3 grenades.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
They're just it was the same as Gambit, inorganic objects.
Yeah.
He can charge them, and so he was 100% Gambit.
Think we'll ever see a Gambit movie?
I don't know. I mean, we're making this. This is late July 2021. Yeah. I heard Channing Tatum and Gambit 2017, 2016. You know,
and now that Fox have imploded and Disney bought them.
Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was meant for TV, some bollocks like that, like release like some at this point, I think they might just. Yeah. Like WandaVision is kind of like a big budget thing, and then they can slot him into a film.
Yeah.
But Rexplode, back on top of Rexplode is 100% Gambit.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that connection.
Yeah, and then when it's pointed out, it's so obvious, isn't it?
Because that's why I asked you, because I couldn't, because when you pick out like Ant-Man, you see Multiple Man, you see Green Lantern.
You can talk. There was so many. There was the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah,
there was so many, because even Martian Manhunter, he was obviously a little bit Plastic Man as well.
Yeah.
So there was just everyone was touched upon, but again, it all felt like a homage, because I don't think the man's imagination is so lacking that he just couldn't think of an original power set. I think he just wanted to have fun. Like when you make an enclosed story, You don't have to be like, okay, now I want a spin-off series of Wolverine that lasts for... Like, I'm reading Venom, and I think the Venom series is in its 40th or 50th, between 40 and 50 comics. So they've obviously been doing this particular Venom series now since, like, one a month. It goes back to maybe 2015. That's not the first Venom series. Yeah. So Venom's not dying.
Yeah.
But in this story, it's like, let's just do all the superheroes. We don't have to worry because we can get rid of them because we always have more. So he's like having fun with it.
Yeah.
But he's not afraid to bring them to conclusions, Red Wedding style, if it comes to it.
Yeah, and he's like the ones like he proves that he doesn't have a lack of originality because
it's Robert fucking Kirkman.
Yeah, and the stuff that the original superheroes that he creates are so different. Like even though one that I'm kind of going to wander off away from the Guardians of Glow for a second, but do you remember? Is it Damien Darkblood? Is that his name? Is pretty much Hellboy hybridized with Rorschach.
Yes.
You know what I mean? What you think of that character and his kind of storyline, the kind of pivot.
That's it. He was a little bit detective and fucking yeah, exactly. But that was it. It was characters like that, and he was obviously closing in on Nolan as the killer of the Guardians.
Immediately he was on the case.
Immediately he was on the case, and I thought it was really good when Cecil betrays him.
Yeah.
Because, bitch, we know. But it's not the time. And that guy, he was so driven, as in, I was given a job, and to see this job to its conclusion is to confront and take down the perpetrator.
Who gave him the job? He just put himself on the job, did he?
Or you know what? He's kind of...
Because he kind of just appears at the murder scene.
Exactly, yeah. Because I think that's his, like, curse, purpose, whatever way you want it to be.
Do you think it's a little bit of...
He also reminds me of, what was that? Garrigan? Oh, he always rhymes. You know, he's green, he's a demon, and he always Etrigan or something like that. Yeah.
Is that the guy? No,
DC.
I know. I was thinking Mr. Syphil. What's his name? The guy, if you say his name the right way around.
Oh, Mr. Mixilixavix or something.
Mixilix,
yeah, the guy from the fourth dimension.
Yeah. But do you see a bit of maybe a bit of Hellblazer in him? John
Constantine. Exactly. Oh, but you're right. He was a blend. Like there was guys like that were like a touch of this and a touch of this, but he was a blender of the kind of like Constantine
of the vertical kind of.
Yeah, Constantine, the Question.
Yeah.
And just like Hellblazer, you know, just you know, Mephisto, all these kind of guys like thrown in. He was a demon with a purpose.
Yeah.
And
I assume he's going to be back, but don't know it or.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to give you shit. Like, but yeah, no, I thought it was great. But that's the thing, nothing was wasted. Nothing. Even when Cecil got rid of him, it was just like his character's like from what we've seen, his character's ultimate conclusion was we know, but it just can't be the time.
Yeah, it was a really.
And we know we can't stop you because that's your nature.
Yeah, really cool scene where he gets exercised. Sent back to hell.
And they just knew.
I love that. It's like,
and it's such a dark thought. Like, because imagine, like, all right, the most, like, I mean, God, we're talking Lee Harvey Oswald levels of criminal, as in you've taken down the most prolific figure in the world, or a few of them. But you've got godlike power.
Yeah.
So even though we know, man, we have to tread so fucking. And Cecil is that great Nick Fury kind of character, as in he himself, I could probably take him in a fight. And in fucking in the world that they're in, that's saying something.
Yeah.
So he has to play chess when everyone else is just knocking shit down. He has to play chess. He just does, you know. And he was just great. He was obviously a tactician. He knew. He was that guy that you absolutely knew from the onset that the needs of the money.
Yeah.
As in, if we need to contain New York.
Pragmatist.
Yeah, but if we need to contain New York to save the rest of the United States, some shit like that, he'd do it. Just do it. And that would be a button he'd press himself. In fact, even the scars on his face, he could get that fixed.
Yeah, but he doesn't. It's a reminder.
Because he made mistakes. And he needs a reminder. And it's not about so it's somebody who exists outside of their own vanity. That in itself can be a superpower if you have the resources, and that's what he is. He exists completely outside of his own vanity, and you know the type of guy like he's like a superhero version of the cop that's married to his job.
Yeah,
and that's why he doesn't he barely has a relationship with his daughter. His ex-wife doesn't talk. You know, he's that painfully struggling character whose job is all consuming.
His destiny is to die at his desk or die
exactly, and while nobody can do what Nolan does. Also nobody can do what Cecil does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because you could put Nolan, you could put even Robot, who's like 100 IQ points above him, probably 300-400 IQ points above him. But it doesn't matter It's not. He's everything that a human being needs to be to do his job. Brilliant character.
It's like Cecil's like, I can't outperform you physically, but I can match you mentally.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I can match you for wins.
He plays cute.
Yeah.
And even when Deb is closing in and she finds the clothes,
the uniform that
he was wearing that still has the blood on it.
When he murdered the garden.
Fuck you, Nolan. It's the best line in the whole thing. There's a lot of good dialogue, but fuck you, Nolan, when you're talking to a guy who could, again, a grape is just a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like a fucking grape. And she looks in the eyes and goes, fuck you. And he punches a hole in the wall. I just thought, she is a great character.
And the way that ended as well, where the camera kind of, like, for lack of better terms, just the shot was like through the hole in the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. The camera obviously isn't, because obviously it's animated and it's all. There's probably a word that we don't know. Perspective is obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, because there is directors on these things, like, so.
Oh, there is. There's director. Yeah, exactly. Somebody can just say, I want the shot to be, and I want the shot to be, and I want the shot to be. Yeah, exactly. And somebody has to animate that as opposed to being on set, but it's the same concept.
Yeah, your pen or your pencil becomes your camera.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's a nice way of putting it. But God, you know what? Like, I mean, I'm going to ask you a question. Fault it.
I didn't like the way they did that weird segue at the start of every episode, fitting the word Invincible.
Where they fit in the word Invincible.
It's like,
if we don't do this, he's going to become.
Yeah. That kind of a really grinded my gears.
Yeah, but you know what a bullshit little snarky fucking thing to focus. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's not a slight at you. It's just that.
Seems like a slight at me, man.
Well, it was, yeah. But if that's what you're focusing on, because that's forgivable.
Yeah.
Like, did the story intrigue you? Do you think the characters were developed well?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think the actors were well casted? Do you think they themselves did a good job? Because sometimes a great actor you think is well casted and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
None of that.
Yeah, the whole story is definitely solid. Like, probably could have done maybe 1 or 2 more episodes. But,
well, actually, that's just budget constraints.
Yeah,
and when you were so fucking spoiled, it's hard.
I'd rather them take their time than try to squeeze too much in anyway. Like, so
exactly.
I can forgive.
And I'd rather quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was even thinking there's a scene, I think, when they're fighting the people with the tachyon kind of bracelets, because you know the age. There's a scene where Mark's trying to get there and he's flying through the city, but he's flying around buildings. You can see like his reflection on the window glass of the building he's flying through, and sometimes you might be able to see like a desk or something, because that's what a city would look like if you're flying through it. Somebody sat and painstakingly put that in, and you know that cost money. That costs time. And you don't see that in a Simpsons. You don't see that in a Rick and Morty episode. You don't see that in a Simpsons episode and these high level animations.
The detail in the sky reminded me of something like Superman Homecoming or something.
Exactly, and it was like a DC. It was like
Kingdom Come or something.
It was like a DC kind of movie quality of animation.
It really was,
where when things you would forgive, like nobody's going to make the slight in a Rick and Morty episode. Remember you fly through that building, like it was like the glass is kind of yellow. You couldn't really see anything. Like what was the building? You know, was it a candy factory? Was it an office? No, you don't give a shit. Yeah. But they were so painstakingly, and yet that shit cost money. So I remember at the end going, 8 episodes, fuck me, that was over too quick. But fuck me, did I not enjoy it?
Yeah, it's like The Boys, where they have a short run, but every episode is like 10 million or 20 million.
Yes.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Or I always think when you see something that has a 10, 20 million, whatever episode, you're kind of thinking, look, but that's what the average episode costs. When I was watching WandaVision, it was like 25 mil an episode. I was like, no, 5 mil an episode, 8 mil an episode, 100 mil an episode.
Exactly.
Because then white Vision 5, you know, that's where like the budget
is the average.
We're looking at a budget averaged, and it's not at all how it went, and I think that's what they did. And man, it cost money. Like that scene with the train again. I know we already touched upon it, but to touch upon it from a different perspective, that
really
was so
like
excellent.
when you want to like rank train sequences, there's not really a lot. But if you look at Spider-Man 2 in comparison to the train sequence,
you're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? In this, it's the next level. We're like what? So like. Because we're touching it now, but the whole series leads up to the big reveal. The Omni-Man, who was once this great fucking bastion of Earth, you know.
Bastion is a great word.
You know
Bastion
what I mean?
is a great word.
Is now the greatest villain on Earth.
And always has been.
Yeah, and always has
because it didn't suit his purposes to not be.
And what you make of the big reveals of Nolan Grayson's origins, is it what the fuck's the name?
Vultramite. Vultrum is the planet and Vultramite is the species. That's what it is, yeah.
So what do you make of, we see the real, because earlier on we see the popcorn origins. of this.
Superman. This
you know what I mean?
this
air quotes. This Superman.
idyllic idea of what they are.
When you look at Kal-El, his story is of a dying planet, a dying species, a super race. You know what I mean?
Oh, and parents who the only means of escape they gave to their one child.
Exactly, but they sent them out into the world, sent them out into the universe to be the guardian to this one planet or whatever.
Yeah, because they knew that the yellow sun would provide
they would
whatever
worship him like a god. You know?
Yeah, they wouldn't everything he needs. So he explains that it was a planet.
So break down the two origins: the popcorn origin and the real
popcorn
one.
origin was that they were, and it really well. Obviously, their power goes without saying. If you're a Viltrumite, you have the power of flight. Yeah. You have super strength, super speed.
This is a planet of super people without super the need of sun. Yeah.
So you're talking about people that could, like, imagine throwing up a 300-story skyscraper. Like, why not? It's not as if we have to get cranes. It's not as if they were extremely bad. And scientists, they weren't just like, just. But then he was they had
like
this, and then they went to planets and they spread themselves thin because it's a big universe.
No, that's the real one. I want you to talk about, remember, because he tells two different origin stories.
Oh yeah, well he said when he came here to help.
Yeah, remember he said that we send out guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the original, the real one is they actually spread their empire too thin because they're conquering people.
Yeah.
But
and these planets fight back.
Yeah, exactly. But in the fake one, he said that we were sent out as protectors.
Yeah.
But they were sent out as conquerors.
Yeah. Both things had the truth of they were sent out.
Yeah.
So he arrived as a conqueror and not as a. But like when they showed that it was decreed that weakness needed to be removed from the bloodline.
They're like Spartans.
Yeah. So they literally fought for, I don't know, 3 days or some shit like that. And and they're like literally like Mortal Kombat fucking fatalities every 4 seconds. I mean, you could just.
Man, the gore in this fucking. I want to see Robert Kirkman write a horror movie.
Oh my god, I'd love to see Robert Kirkman write a horror movie.
That guy knows how to write gore, man.
I mean, Robert, like, yeah, there's a few people that are in God tier to me, and I would, like, if somebody handed me like, 3-4 billion, 5 billion, something to compete with Disney, I'd be go, right, what's our first big move? And I was like, I'm thinking of giving all's the money to Robert Kirkman. What do you mean all's the money? Bitch, I'm talking all's the money. And what do you want them to make with it? Stuff.
But to circle back, what you make of the big reveal with Nolan, we find out the Omni-Man, who we thought was we obviously knew he was villainous because he kills the fucking Guardians of the Globe at the end
we're clued in. Well, no, like at this stage, sorry, again, I'm not trying to speak as comic me.
Yeah.
At this stage, we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure a lot of people listen to this, and I know we kind of went, right, this, like, his reason for being here is obviously less than altruistic.
Yeah.
So it's probably planet. That's what it would be. But we didn't know. Like, what exactly is
He's
it?
He's more Zod than Superman, it seems.
Oh yeah, exactly. And even fucking Zod like wanted to root it, like kill it, like. Yeah, I've read a lot of comics with Zod, and some of he's more brutal than other. But like holding somebody up to a train or tearing down a building just to show how fickle life on this planet compared to ours actually is was never really his MO. He was just pure, unadulterated. And I don't even know if evil. That's the thing. He's so above us in a pecking order. You could just imagine. Zod. No, but just Nolan. Could you imagine somebody who arrives like and people are? I mean. The comparable strength between an ant and us is closer than the comparable strength between a Nolan and us. The guy can grab meteors out of space and not be at all phased.
Fly into deep space.
So like, and also he's thousands of years old. So there has to be this thing. I don't even know if you would call it arrogance. That's the thing. That's the mind fucky thing. I don't even know if you could call it arrogance. He actually just clearly is a vastly superior specimen of.
It's kind of a case that he's like he's got an understanding of experience that we could never grasp.
They even wrap our tiny little brains around because it's not even just that. There is intelligence. It's not just like we're born and we have all these gifts and now we fight. It's not that at all. It's that why wouldn't we take over? What else would we do?
Yeah,
like compared to these fucking things.
Like do you
remember this speech? Like, think, Mark, think. He goes, "You'll still be alive when this planet is." Dust.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, you can imagine being told that and thinking there has to be an element of truth. Like, I remember thinking that when I was watching Highlander.
No, I think he meant you'll be alive when your world is dust.
Yes.
Because he won't be alive in billions of years.
Oh yeah, not in billions of years, but like the way we're burning through the planet will all be dust in a time in what will turn out to ultimately be a very small part of his life. Because when that guy's I'm 38, when that guy is whatever the Ultramite equivalent of 38 is, like his mother will be further back than fucking Spartacus. Yeah, like it is mind fucky.
Yeah,
and you can imagine that if you were presented with that as a concept, that two things would happen, and they're two polars. One would be that's what makes life precious, is that it's such a short time. Do they not deserve to be protected and pursue happiness? Or how infantile? Because the fact of the matter is, if a fly comes into my house and annoys me, I kill it.
Yeah.
So that was the way Nolan was. And
what I do with a fly is I find out where its family is.
Yeah.
And I follow it back to its home.
Yeah.
I wait till night when they're all asleep.
I vomit on its food.
Yeah, no, I wait till night when they're all asleep, and then I route them out. If you can't breed them out, I will route them out. Paraphrase, Braveheart.
All that matters is our plan. But I thought Nolan was great because that Think Mark thing is great dialogue, and for a series that could rely so heavily on absolutely genius levels of action and animation to go along with it.
Yeah.
That a scene like that where he has his son bet to literally nothing. Now, because to be fair, Mark kept getting up.
Yeah.
He kept doing the Randy Marsh. I didn't hear no bell.
Like Steve Rogers.
Exactly. But he kept getting up. At this stage, he's literally just pummeled. I mean, yes, he's superhuman to a 10 to the 10 power, but he's broken. And he says this beautiful line again. I'm not walking back from my idea that "fuck you, Nolan" was the best line in the whole thing. I'll fight a bitch for disagreeing. But when he says, like, "What will you have, Mark? What will you have?" And he says, "I'll have you, Dad."
Yeah, and that makes him think for a second. That's what makes him flee.
That actually makes him think for a second.
Yeah,
and that was the first thing that ever did. And you have to understand the gravity of that. As in, he's probably, again, we don't know, 2,000 years old.
Yeah,
and he's never questioned.
Because
he even says, like, he said, "Oh yeah, like I'm being conservative. I don't want to, like, I mean, comfortably."
Yeah.
But he's obviously his mission has always been a mission. He even says just before that, he goes, like, "I'll just go and make another son. What's 17 years?" And he's right. What is 17 years?
To him, is not.
To us, I was a 21-year-old living in Austria.
Yeah,
it's a long time ago.
17 years for him is like a week.
Exactly. Yeah. So what is that? And he's right. Like, if the purpose is to breed, multiply almost the way insects do, of course it's nothing to worry about or can even consider.
Yeah.
And in fact, if nowadays reveal himself to be a monster, why not take 100 women, 1,000 women?
Yeah. And just
why not put them somewhere and breed? Like, why not? What's to stop you? That's how strong you are. But then he realized when the son says, "I'd have you, Dad," he realized, fuck, this kid cares about me. And that to me draws back to, you remember the baseball game?
Yeah.
And he's looking at his kid and he's going, "I get a much better view if I was just up there because you can fly." And he's like, "This is..." And of course he's watching like kids that can throw a ball tops 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, and they're the good ones. They're the kids that can really lean into it. And to him, what is it? Like, it's nothing. But then he sees that his son hits a home run or some shit, and he actually is overcome with pride.
Yeah,
he just is, and it's real.
Yeah, and that's because of Deborah.
That's because of Deborah.
Yeah.
And yeah, because she's talking to him, and then he just wants his son to run. And again, he stops comparing it to himself, because the time it takes his son to run we don't know baseball, guys, 25 bases. I think that's probably right. But I don't know, 4 bases or something. But in the time it takes him to run around, he could have flown around the world twice, 3, 4, 5 times. It didn't matter. It was his kid achieving something that meant something to him.
Yeah.
And that mattered to him. And there was no denying it.
Yeah.
So then he realized that all he can do is flee.
Yeah, I have to get out of here.
And he broke his post.
Yeah.
And from what we know about the planet, again, not to get very, very cognizant, not to get into the planet, but the whole like dynamics of the planet to come later. But like, it was, I can say this: you don't abandon your post.
Yeah.
There is consequences. You are a soldier.
Yeah.
It's all there. Fuck your feelings. This is what you're there to do. Do it. That's all there is to the regime. And then, but he still abandons post. And that is this weird ode, actual love note to his son. He stops.
There's huge juxtapositions within Nolan though as a character, isn't there? Like, you know, he's the kind of guy that would wipe out like dozens of people. That would
he kills about 300 people
at least. Again,
conservative.
And a lot of them are Earth's mightiest heroes.
Yes.
You know, and a lot
of them are nothing. A lot of them are guys in fighter jets who know they're putting their life on the line, but they have to fight.
Or to prove a point to...
look at these. Look what they have to do to mimic a fraction of our power.
Yeah, that's a
great line. Again, fuck you, Nolan. Sorry.
And the part where he's like stands on a person. Remember, the person's reaching out from under rubble to try to get to Invincible, and he just stands on it and like fucking cuts their arm off. And like he kills people just to prove a point.
And there's no undoing it.
Yeah.
Like everything he sees his father do, he knows... You know, and I remember reading that and I was thinking, God, he's going to just curse him out, telling him to kill him, some shit like that. Yeah. But I remember just reading the line, I'd have you, Dad. Yeah. And there's a couple of lines. I can honestly say now, of course, we're in a sweatbox because we can't have a fan. And but the only other line, I remember Kyle Rayner, who was a Green Lantern, and he was fighting Sinestro.
Yeah.
Because the rings ran out. Sorry, his ring ran out of power, and he challenged Sinestro to a fight.
Yeah.
And Sinestro, whose kind of arrogance is his whole thing, he got down and said, right, because he's the greatest fighter on his planet.
Yeah.
And he you know, he's kicking the shit out of him and stuff like that. And he goes, how do you think you can fight me? I was taught in like whatever their version of Krav Maga and Taekwondo and all that kind of shit. And he goes, and who taught you to fight? And Kyle Rayner just opens him with a box in the sternum and says, Batman. And I remember just that line actually gave me chills. And I remember just that is the only line I can think of from a comic that when I said I'd have you, Dad, there was a real, like, an actual power to it.
Yeah.
It was a great fucking line.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was, and then when the father fled, I felt like it made sense. It wasn't like, you're telling me that somebody just says, oh, I like you, Dad, and he leaves his post that he's been doing, like, you know, something he's been doing throughout the universe for thousands of years. And I was like, yeah, I do actually. I actually think it was so well laid out. I thought it was great fucking storytelling.
Probably the first time he's ever had a son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's it. Because he's been a soldier.
Yeah.
Again, because it's not given anyway. They actually don't go like, they don't go super far into his past. They explain the world. But we don't get a spin-off everything that's happened to Nolan things. So yeah, probably his first son. I actually don't know, so there's no spoiler to be had. But yeah, it was, and then you realise, like, fuck, even now, the kid loves me.
Yeah.
Like, he loves me. Because I'm his dad. And that was brilliant.
And what you make it the kind of wrap up where we kind of get a bit more of the backstory from a creature we saw earlier on in it, who Invincible goes up to fight in space and they kind of telepathically talk to each other.
The one-eyed Alan.
Yeah, the guy that went to Earth instead of Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to the wrong Earth. Your man's fighting him and your man's so much stronger, but it's almost adorable to him. Because he's more on Nolan's level. But he's obviously not as vicious, so he spar. But then when your man sits down,
Seth Rogen, is it?
Yeah, that's right. It was Seth Rogen. So then, now I have to say that one I didn't hear in my head in the comic books. Like, you know, I definitely didn't hear Seth Rogen as Alan.
He pops up like a motherfucker, doesn't he?
He pops up like a motherfucker. That again, there's guys who write their own fucking checks. Like,
but I want to. Do you have anything else you want to say about Invincible as a show before we go to a break?
I'm grateful.
Did you like the way, because I'm kind of treading on water here because I've only seen this once. I've never read the comic book, and you know what kind of happens. So I'm kind of treading on water about how I ask you questions. But like,
sorry, I will try. Like, I know I kind of gave away something with duplicate earlier. I'm very sorry. Even in my head sometimes there is an overlap with what I know and when and what. So I'm trying my best to be cognizant. And you can ask me your question, and I'll be as cognizant as possible.
But what do you think of the way they wrapped up the series?
I think obviously it was a natural lulling point.
Yeah.
Because then you can have this without us feeling like, God, how boring is this? You can actually have a lull in the story because it makes sense to just recuperate. Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
And the way they leave open, we see Robo has his new body.
Exactly.
And he's a clone of Rexplosion. Is it Rexplosion?
He's a clone of Rexplosion because Monster Girls seem to find him to be a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
So that's the girl you like.
And he made himself to be in and around the same age as Monster Girl.
Even exactly. Even younger than Rex Blode.
But so they could kind of be together or whatever.
So certainly make a move towards it for sure. But no, it had to be then. Even when I started it, obviously, Sheila's the only person I watched that way. So I didn't. I have a niece who me and her have read it, and we discussed it a lot. But me and her both knew that we were just talking. We were like, this ends with Nolan. Has to. We knew it. So even at that, I was like, wow, they did a great job in 8 episodes. They did a great job because they treaded the line. Didn't feel rushed.
Yeah.
But it didn't lag.
Yeah.
So I just thought
that's the best thing about a short run. You get to the point.
Yeah, you get to the point. You can, but I didn't. Yeah, but not feeling rushed, like not lagging. It was never going to lag. It's just too cool. It's too open. There's too much action. It was never going to lag. It'd be like fucking Die Hard. Lagging. I mean, no, you're crawling the vents and you're killing dudes. It's not the not the setup, but it not rushing was excellent. It gets huge marks from me for storyboarding.
Yeah,
they said 8 episodes. This dude has no powers and works in a fucking fast food restaurant, and his dad's a god. And at the end, his dad betrays everything he loves. Including his mother, his family, kills a fuck ton of people and fucks off out of the planet. And in let's just say a TV half hour is about 22, 23 minutes. I don't know how long an episode.
Well, it's like 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Yeah, they were long.
So it's like nearly an 8-hour long movie in a lot of ways.
Well, 3/4 of an hour. Yeah, 6 hour. He said, right, so we've got 6 hours to do this. And they storyboarded the fuck out of that because they could miss nothing. But obviously they had to get through a lot of material. So no, the storyboarding gets a 10 out of 10, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't give a fuck anybody coming for it for storyboarding. I would have I would definitely just disagree with them in the strongest. You're allowed, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I never fight. But if somebody didn't like a film, I loved Hereditary. I remember having a conversation with somebody who didn't like it, and I was like, I might have to kill this cunt. But at the same time, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I'm sorry, with the storyboarding, I just think factually was just really well done. Yeah, because I feel like that's measurable. Unlike whether you like the film or not, it's not measurable because it's you. But I feel like something like that's actually you're right. Yeah.
What I know about Robert Kirkman, he did Oblivion Song, and something I told you about this earlier was like he wrote the first 13 issues before he announced the story. This is a guy who knows how to plan stories out.
Is Oblivion Song the one with the
interdimensional brother looking for his brother? I've only read the first 16 issues. I'm waiting for more to come out. And I'll dive back into it. I kind of like to do that with a comic book series. I'll read like the first 20 issues and then I'll leave it for like a year or two when there's like 50 or 60 issues out, and then I'll go back and I'll read them all because I want an idea what the story is before I go back and really enjoy and experience it. Just so I want to know whether or not to come back to it, because it can be a bit of if you're following a comic book series, it's a commitment,
Oh, it is. And I have packed up bags, 30 episodes, comics, into something for just sake of a number. And issues. I've gone like, you know what, I'm sorry. I felt in 14 that it lost me, and it's got more stupid since. And despite the fact that I'm a little bit invested, I don't have that hunger. Yeah. So he's right. Like, create something, no interference there. You can't fuck with it too much because the flat line is actually quite big as opposed to a single comic.
And by the time like that you released the 13 issues, I'm sure he has another 13 written.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not even looking at what the fans are thinking. He's just creating in isolation now.
Dudes who like us who've done a bit of writing can only someday dream of not creating something as good, just sucking their balls. Just like
it's always the balls with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to start with and then maybe when I make it, I can make their coffee. And while they're enjoying their coffee, perhaps I might, I don't know, suck their balls.
This fucking guy. People come here for our wisdom on movies and superhero and whatnot, and you're always talking about balls. This fucking guy.
No, they're here for the balls, man. Can't stress it enough. You've embarrassed yourself just there.
Oh man, Bod's got it. I'm fucking melting.
Yeah, we're in again. We couldn't have a fan or even a window open. This room is like, I don't know, 10 by 9 or some shit.
I don't know when this is going to air, but we're going through a fucking heat wave at the moment here in Ireland, and it is severe. We're not built for the warmth.
No.
But no. So, do you think we've summarized the first the fucking first half of the show and
easily, God, yeah.
Yeah, so you happy enough to go to a break and then we'll come back with the what if and the best and worst and then get the fuck out of here?
I'd love that.
All right, cool. So, right, folks, we're going to see you after the break. We have to go grab some air before we pass the fuck out. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Toohey. This is Dark Side of the Moon, and we'll be back after the break with more about Invincible. So, now, word from our sponsors. I'm fucking melting here.
I gotta look good today, and there's nobody here to iron my shirt. Nobody has to. This new 100% cotton shirt is fantastic. 100% cotton, but with a special process so I can just wash and wear. It's new. The Cottony shirt by Arrow. All the comfort of 100% cotton and easy care. Because she promised to love and honor.
But not to iron.
When you're looking for comfort, look for the seal of cotton. The more cotton, the better you feel.
And we're back from the break, right? I'm Vincent Green, and this is No John Toohey. We're in the sweatbox. This is Dark Side of the Moon.
We hope you like ball soup.
Dark Side of the Heat Wave. Yeah. Fucking hell, it feels like we're on the near side
Irish
of the sun right
people,
now.
we like to think we're built for what cold weather. We're not built for anything. Mundane, middle of the road, slightly moist.
We're half decent at like repelling invasions.
But thank you if you've stayed with us. I genuinely do appreciate it. It's very kind, and we're going to wrap this shit up. We're going to talk some what if.
Yeah, so no, like we broke down the show as best we could, the 8 episodes and the different things that we thought were the strengths and the weakness, like the strengths of the show, the relationships, the big reveals, the conclusions, the difference, the influential, like the influences that we could see, like from the big two, if you want, DC, Marvel, even branching out into the more a little bit more obscure, like Dark Horse, Vertigo, stuff like that. Yeah, you know, so like we see all we kind of covered all the ground that we wanted to cover apart, like picking apart the series, but like. In this second part of the series, of the show, we always go, what if we were the director, what would we do, and how would we change Invincible? And you having a better grasp of the source material and stuff, I'm going to go to you first and see what you would change only in the universe that we know from the show.
Exactly. I'm going to try, for the sake of the question, to pretend that I don't know stuff, because a lot of stuff you kind of think, oh, I wish I'd done this, and then like ultimately. Yeah, you know, like ultimately they might circle back around. I'm not thinking of any example. I'm just saying that's the way
he's about to ruin something on those people.
What I would have changed. Honestly, it's hard to really pick something because I thought it was so excellently managed. But I think maybe the relationship that he was having with Angela.
Yeah, Angela, Zazie Beetz.
Yeah, I thought that. They tried to hit the notes on that too many times, and I felt like I already got it.
Yeah.
As in, he's doing an absolutely shit job at being both.
Almost like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man. Like
because it's not just, imagine in this world.
Old hack after a while.
In this world, if you had those kind of powers, and don't get me wrong, the world is full of problems.
Yeah.
But it's not like the world level threat would arrive on a semi-daily basis. So I get it. He wasn't able to really maintain a relationship with the girl. I felt by the time that really broke down and was gone, I felt
it's been done today.
And especially when it was only 8 episodes, I felt like we could have used that time for something else.
Yeah.
And it's a minor gripe, and it's a gripe when you're put under a microscope and told to have a gripe.
Yeah, what would you say? It's as bad as having 3 musical numbers for Kirsten Dunst in Spider-Man 3.
Okay, for those of you who haven't heard other podcasts, our benchmark for stupid fucking waste of time was giving Kirsten Dunst 3 musical numbers in a crammed Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, it's like, we got 5 villains, but I want to have 25 minutes of screen time for Kirsten Dunst to be sick.
How much time for Venom's character development? I mean, like maybe 30 seconds.
It's like Sam Raimi's like, Venom's in this movie.
I don't like Spider-Man. I'm in a church. I also don't like Spider-Man with Venom. So it's a minor gripe, but I think that even
offense, like, sitting here, motherfuckers.
Yeah, even just I think they did it 2 or 3 times where like he let her down at the soup kitchen, he let her down, I think maybe twice, he let her down at the college campus.
Yeah.
And even when he revealed himself, I think the ship had kind of sailed for her. And that's fair. But I feel like 2 would have done it, maybe, instead of the 3. And maybe that could have been something else.
Yeah. Or maybe have him let her down every 3 episodes instead of every fucking episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, we get it. As you said, we get it. Like,
yeah, I didn't feel like the third time or whatever. If it's 3 or 4, I'm just going to say it's 3 for the sake of making the point. I don't think
it makes the character look so foolish as well.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going away for 2 weeks. Where? Somewhere sandy. So you're telling me you have this like supposed to be like she's animated. Where supposed to be this gorgeous looking girl who's obviously super intelligent, super cool, real stylish. Well, she's going to wait around for some.
And she's got drive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like she's got drive and purpose in her life.
Yeah, and like she's like just so like I know just a plot device a lot of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't and you could feel like there was like a bit of a tension between him and Adam Eve. So you were kind of wondering like, is this a precursor, or is he just going to move on and just fall into the superhero life? Because the only thing you're actually sure of at this point is that this relationship was fucking doomed.
She feels
get it.
I don't know about what happens in the future, and so I know you can't really answer this question. But to me, Angela feels more like a Gwen Stacy than a Mary Jane Watson. I
mean, that's probably fair in the sense that they break up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like moving forward, they broke up. So I'm not going to get into whether or not they, again, because the universe as we know it is contained in those 8 episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You're right that it wasn't.
If you straight, I'll walk right across this sweatbox of a studio recording. I would drop kick you.
No, you won't. Because you're. I'm
so sweaty right now. I'll slide right off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like zero friction in the kick, sweating through his boots.
Yeah, it'd be like a kid on a slip and slide.
Yeah.
I'll slide right off into the fucking wall.
But fuck me. But yeah, no, and again, in the ultimate of it, in the ultimate of the episodes, it's probably a minor gripe.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy the shit. And again, I never even really thought about it until I was asked a very specific question that you have to answer. Have a think about it.
Yeah. What
would you change? So that while that is my answer, I'd be lying if I said that I felt that in a very heavy way through it. But it did occur to me when I was watching it that I was like, well, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
That he's letting her down, that he's 17 and shit's gone to hell. It's not just that he becomes a superhero, he becomes a superhero even by superhero standards at a very strange time, and also becomes a superhero inside of a very strange kind of nucleus.
Yeah.
His family, his dad being Omni-Man and all the shit that came with that. So I just feel like I got it. And again, when something only ran
it's been done to death.
Exactly. When you had 6 hours to tell this whole season of a story, I feel like 20 minutes even just 20 minutes, half an episode, I feel like could have been used for something else.
Yeah, at the same time, we're applauding Robert Kirkman for not being shy in portraying or conveying what his influences are and what things he loves to do. I just think having a story so fucking similar to Spider-Man's, we get it. You can't balance it. We get it. Everybody, I'm just so fed up with looking at superheroes that can't, like The Flash, fucking Green Arrow, the Green Arrow, and can you move your water?
Sorry,
it has it right behind the computer. Just so you know. but I'm so fed up of this this whole fucking thing of no, the superhero can't balance his life. I'd rather see a superhero that goes rogue and is just insular and it's it does his own thing. I'd rather see a superhero that goes, I'm all about the mission. Because we don't see that enough anymore. We don't see enough new Batmans. We see a lot of new Spider-Mans. I
would have been listen, I'm probably going to have to fuck off sometimes, but other times I'll just bring you to Venice.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
I think that's
a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, we have teleport technology that I have access to, so even by my standards, I can get you there quick. It's fucking cool. That's the deal. Yeah. And I know you can't, your secret identity and all that.
Yeah, but he does, what you make it, we kind of touched on here, but the reveal, I thought was a little bit disappointing. I know you said it was because Angela was so fucking fed up with his bullshit. That is I'm invincible. And she's like, that. I thought that was her strongest moment, where I think she was folding up some clothes or something. She was doing something very, very mundane. She was in her bedroom and she was putting something away or just doing something that didn't involve just sitting in her bedroom, I guess. Yeah.
And the ship had already sailed with her. And I like that. I like the fact that she wasn't a bit like Debbie. She wasn't a weak character. Just because she didn't have superpowers doesn't mean that she didn't want something from life, or that his priorities meant that hers didn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not the case. That's not what her life is going to be.
Yeah,
and it's even very noble, because you think wow, you've hit the jackpot. I mean, you an actual superhero partner, like a superhero, good looking superhero boyfriend should be awesome. But she was done. Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Could have got there quicker, but I did. I thought that scene was actually cool because he's in the bedroom, he's floating, if I remember correctly, and he's like, "I'm invincible."
He comes in the uniform, takes off his mask.
That's it. Yeah, he's like, "I'm invincible." Because anyway, living in a pandemic, by the way, when people wear masks, I still know exactly who they are. Exactly who they are.
I don't want to stray too far off your point, but fucking Adam Eve doesn't even wear a mask.
Yep.
And your man's like, "Oh, I didn't see it till now." Really?
Yeah, like my full face.
Like her full face.
And she's gorgeous, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be like someone
it'd be like gay though, so
yeah, true enough.
He mightn't be paying as much attention to her.
But like it'd be like someone like, Scarlett Johansson is there and she's in your school and you're going and she's just, gorgeous and popular and stuff. And you'd be like, wait, yeah, you'd be like, but in my defense, you were wearing like pink at the time, and I think you were just wearing a sweater when I seen you last. So I had no idea who you were.
No, I don't know. It's kind of like what made me Starlight in The Boys. And like, oh, I didn't know you were Starlight. Really?
Yeah, based on what exactly?
Yeah, so
because not even the Robin style mask where he just covers your eyes.
I've interacted with many people over my life, and if they wear different outfits, I still recognize them. Strangely enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my god, you're Noel. Noel I know wears a shirt.
You're usually wearing a Megadeth t-shirt. And here you are wearing a Metallica one.
Yeah, it's like,
they're different bands.
It does not compute.
It does not compute. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that stuff that wrecks my fucking head. You know
no, that wrecks that would wreck your fucking head.
Do you know
there is a thing that kind of was introduced to the world and I called it Clark Kentitis.
Yeah.
And I do remember like Batman, to be fair, when somebody called Superman on it or something, he goes, Clark Kent walks with a hunch and drops his voice a half octave. And I was like, and wears glasses or something like that. And you realise that his disguise is actually the kind of demeanour.
Yeah.
And I do get that because if like somebody is absolutely statuesque versus somebody who's quite background. Like remember the absolute like with
it's kind of
Reeves, Superman. He's the best Superman because he was a great Clark Kent. Because I think anyone could be a Superman. You just get like a good-looking, blue-eyed dude who's in good shape, and he's Superman.
He has to have the jawline.
He has to have the jawline, yeah. But like they all have. But at the same time, I remember Reeves. Like he's trying to follow Lois through a hotel, and he gets caught up in
Margot Kiddo.
Yeah, he gets and R.I.P. What an awesome woman. But he gets caught on like a what do you call them, bellboy's trolley.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I can't. And he gets, a revolving, one of those kind of circular doors.
Yeah.
And he gets caught in that because he's just such an absolute klutz. So they were trying, but they don't even do that. They don't even lean into that. She's not this like really, really meek,
do you think it's
glasses wearing girl.
Yeah. Do you think it's the case of like, I think Atom, he touches on it herself, that she says that you never look for a superhero in your own high school.
Or it kind of remind me of that people don't look up.
Yeah.
Like people like Spider-Man zipping around and the reason, he can do this. People don't look up.
Yeah.
And there's actually a truth to it.
You're so fucking focused.
Because people all, like, I've seen even things where people, I've seen something years ago and somebody who lived in New York decided to take in New York and actually just look up. And you just could not believe the city that was built. Like but you're in it every day and you have to get to work and you're hungry. So you have to go and
do you know why they say that you look to the sky periodically? Because when we were less evolved, that we used to be eaten by large birds, and it's kind of like ingrained into us somehow to keep an eye in the sky.
That's weird. When I was a teenager, I was more so eaten by large birds, but no, cut that out. That was a terrible joke.
Carol, keep that in because he deserves it now.
Yeah, no, please don't.
But
I want so desperately to be liked.
So no, your what if would be that you would.
Yeah, I stand by it. I do. It wasn't like I said. It wasn't.
I think it's a pretty good one though because
it wasn't a gripe that
in a show of originality. It lacked originality in that sequences.
And while not like trying to not to draw on the comics, but I'm going to try and draw on the comics. Yeah. In so much as the first season covered. No, but like in that relationship as it existed in the comics, it didn't feel like that in the comics.
Yeah,
because obviously
it felt stronger.
It didn't like the slog doesn't really. It doesn't feel as dramatic when you're not hearing their voice or every conversation. And just that's what acting is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they're the same. They're the same words on a page, and I'm reading them, and I'm giving them a little bit of inflection in my head, but I didn't feel it in the comics. But when it was and albeit committed to screen as it should be, because it had great source material, it just felt like a slog. So I'm throwing the same question at you, the exact same question.
What would I have changed if I was the director? See, like, I'm not as familiar with this as I would have been with a lot of the stuff we covered, and I kind of want to do that on purpose because
So for those listening, Vinny knew this was out for a while, but he waited till we were doing this, and he decided he absolutely spearheaded away last night to have it as fresh as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So your first introduction is actually in the last 24 hours.
Because I wanted to be the exact opposite of you, someone that was steeped,
which is fair, especially when somebody. I've seen this conclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great to have somebody who's probably just dipped his toes.
Because I wanted to be as fresh as possible coming into this, because we had the opinion of someone that knew where it's going. This is your second viewing of the show.
Second viewing, yeah.
And this is this completely. I want to be as fresh, but when I look at this, your one was really good, you bastard. But when I look at it and I break it down, I think that maybe we could have seen some of the big reveals a bit earlier. Because it's an 8-episode run, maybe it's a similar gripe to you. I think some of the time was mismanaged. That like some of the lesser aspects of the story could have fallen to the wayside or could have been truncated slightly. So we could have had more time with the robot's backstory, which was so interesting. We could have more information about Vultramite. Is it called Vultramite?
Well, he's a Vultramite.
I keep thinking fucking Vegemite.
It's like Kryptonian from the planet Krypton. Yeah. It's Vultramite from the planet Voltron.
Voltron.
Trum.
Donald Trump?
Bull Trump. A lot of people saying it's the best planet ever.
We make the best planets.
Yeah.
Over here, we make the best planets.
So
okay.
My planet is from builders. Yeah. We build things. Great big buildings.
And if people want gifts and they don't want to pay taxes on them, whatever.
Yeah. We're bad at casinos.
But my kind of gripe is because like I think if I knew the source material or the show a bit more, I could probably pick it apart a bit better. But my main gripe would be there's a bit mismanagement with time. I would have liked to see some of the more interesting characters focused on a bit more. Would have liked to see a bit more backstory. Eve. Would have liked to see what she was doing a bit more out into the world when she was kind of like saving people, actually making a difference. Where she was like letting people, like looking at causes around the world, stuff like that. I thought was an interesting aspect of the story.
It was, yeah. When she kind of went, she decided that what she wanted to do.
the word in my terms, that kind of way. That's
I get that, yeah.
And I really like that. The most fascinating character I thought, apart from Omni-Man, of course, which was like he's like a Superman Spartan or something, like
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, Superman Spartan. Yeah,
and I think one of the most interesting characters was Robot. And his whole
there's no doubt about that.
Man, that whole episode, there's like that episode in the clones. I love their characters as well. The clones, the fact that they don't know who's the original and shit like that.
Yeah.
I'm the original. It's like I just remember. Do you remember when he clones the guy and immediately the clone wakes up and he goes, "And the sequence is complete." And he goes, "Clearly, I am the original."
I remember like when I was first reading that, I was like, okay, so when they clone, they must be sitting in like chairs that spin around.
Yeah,
and I'd be like, dude, like I mean, there was an empty table to my right. And now you're there. I mean, does that not mean you're the fucking clone?
Yeah, but I think it's a case of like their identity is so shared that they're nearly convincing each other. It's a case of like, because even though he knows he's the original, technically he's probably still a clone of the original that's died.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the original that's.
Because remember when one of them betrays the other early on to escape the prison? Throws him at turrets.
He fucking used his human shield.
He used his shield. He throws him at turret, and that was fine to him because he could always make a clone.
Yeah, I love it. It's like their characters are so interesting because they come across as pure muscle, but they're like super.
Exactly. You can see like their muscle, like they're like Herculean in strength, but that they're no match on that level for, let's just say, an Invincible or something like that. But they've got the brains.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like Robot probably wouldn't have been on. Like,
they're like an odd soldier. Like have you obviously seen Unbreakable, but Samuel L. Jackson breaks it down as there's the soldier villain, and then there's the kind of the intellectual villain that pretty much you have like a Lex Luthor that will meet Superman on an intellectual level, and then you'd have like a Doomsday will meet him on a physical level.
Yes,
and the clones were kind of this interesting.
And remember, we've talked about a few times the failure of Superman Returns.
Yeah.
Was that it was an actually like
didn't
Lex
give anyone to punch.
Yeah, he didn't give him anyone to punch. As in, like he
put
had
Lex Luthor in a super suit.
But Lex Luthor or suit, yeah, or anything at all. But he
Like
just, but at the same time, it's like his moral code was the reason he didn't finish all of that super quickly. Because and I get that, and I get that's what I wanted from Superman. But the reason that film was actually a beautifully shot film.
Yeah,
I thought the world building is the best I've ever seen from Superman, but they didn't give him anything to punch.
Bryan Singer's a scumbag.
Bryan Singer's a scumbag. We only found this out.
I'm going to say allegedly because I don't want to get sued, but he's still a scumbag.
Yeah, he's allegedly
he's a scumbag.
Definitely a scumbag.
Yeah, like allegedly he's the scum of the earth.
Yeah. At least we still have Joss Whedon, right? Penny, right?
Allegedly, Joss Whedon's a good person.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably getting more chance of being sued for calling Joss Whedon a good person right now than calling Bryan Singer.
Yeah, you're not fucking wrong there.
But yeah, so to circle back to what I was saying, like my what if would be maybe like mismanagement of time. I think some like I know you're anchored to or you're hampered by the source material in a certain sense because Robert Kirkman obviously wanted to bring a more true adaptation of his work to the screen than instead of The Walking Dead, which veered left, right, and center. And like I think this time he was like, I want to stay exactly true to the source material. And maybe that's why we had a lot of focus on his relationship with Angela, his misgivings, or like the fact that he's failing her constantly in the soup kitchen. Like, come on, it's like we got 8 episodes and we're going to have half it about a soup kitchen.
Yeah.
We've got intergalactic conqueror who's given birth to a kid who shares partially his powers and is only anchored by humanity through his love for his family. And we're going to give 20 minutes of an episode to a soup kitchen. Okay.
You're right. The soup kitchen was definitely the Mary Jane song.
You know what I mean?
I love that. It's supposed to give the idea that like what I do is important too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just...
Because, like...
I'm saving the world in a different way.
Because, we have like Daredevil. Daredevil will make sure that everything's okay in Hell's Kitchen.
It was kind of
but when Thanos shows up...
Yeah.
It's the Fantastic Four, and it's everyone has their role to play, and she was like, "Well, this is me playing my role, and if that's not enough for you, if you can't be a part of this."
Yeah, I know it's pivotal for Atom Eve as well because saving the world in her own way, Angela gave her the impetus.
Yeah, that's it. She could create food.
But
she
still,
could create.
that's a 5-minute sequence.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Like, absolutely.
I just want to see like when Robert Kirkman does this job of creating Omni-Man, who's this intergalactic conqueror, and we have this fucking robot who is being neuralinked by this malformed super genius that's like slowly decomposing in an incubation tube. I want all of that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we're going to get more of it, but like maybe not actually because now he's a clone and stuff. But like, I would have loved maybe 20 minutes more of those kind of storylines. Whereas, like,
but he's a clone now, but he carries that.
Yeah,
he does carry it.
But just that, like the whole sequence with him and the clones, he's dying, as you mentioned earlier on. It's like we knew this is what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because they even impressed upon him that we can copy your consciousness across. Yeah, that doesn't mean that we copy you across. Yeah, and it's a replicate of your consciousness that will be 1 second old. Yeah, but with X amount of years of thought, experience, feeling, everything. Yeah. Like, and I love mindfucky concepts.
It's like it's such a massive sacrifice. Like, I'm going to sacrifice myself so I can survive, so I have a chance of saving the woman I love.
Yes,
which is fucking insane. That's like
absolutely, and it's world class storytelling.
You know what I mean? Like,
and it's great because then you have a genius who was born in a dying, decaying body. Yeah, who betrays his own dying, decaying body for the chance of he copies himself at the cost of his own life, so that there is at least an idea. It's almost like the way people have children and then it becomes
I live on through them.
Yeah, you live on through them, and also I want for them what I didn't have. Yeah. And that was this really kind of like inversion, even in a way grotesque and in a way beautiful version of that.
Remember the scene where he goes, like the clone's like, "You're a teenager." He goes, "Correction, I'm a 30-year-old genius in the body of a teenager that has a Neuralink that you just implanted."
Yeah.
And then he just like thinks, and then all of a sudden the fucking robots come out.
Yeah, the Hulkbuster. Yeah, this is the Hulkbuster. Yeah.
Don't you remember they killed the first 2 robots? He's like, "I didn't want to hurt you, but if that's where you wanted to go," or some shit like that. And then you have the Hulkbuster.
Basically, he decides to arrest them.
Yeah.
He decides that, like, I think
scumbag.
I don't know what it was. What was it they wanted? He gave them schematics
for a collar. It was like this collar from an alien world. I'm not sure where it was from, but it was a collar to give you the ability to control someone. And they wanted to bring the immortal back from the dead and put this collar on him, so they had the control over the immortal.
That's exactly what it was. And he woke up pissed.
That was an amazing scene.
And that was another amazing scene. Actually, that's it. I think we should probably...
many.
That's the thing. We did
the immortal conclusion, if you will.
The immortal conclusion is that he comes back. At this stage, we know that Nolan is the bad guy, but Immortal knows. He was there and he watched all his friends, including himself, be murdered.
And I think he was in... Did he have something going on with War Woman? Because it seemed like they were very close.
No, it's never really touched upon again. So whatever you've seen, you can draw conclusions from. Yeah. And she's dead.
Yeah.
So like
very dead.
Yeah, very dead. But I just love when he shows up and Nolan just... it's another example of how Nolan's gone full bad guy. Because he says like he looks at Immortal when he's kind of... Eventually, it's like he's still stronger. He looks at Immortal and says, "You should have said dead," and then he cuts him kind of in half by doing this kind of X figure.
No, he puts his hand through him first.
That's right.
And kind of holds him in place with his hand through his abdomen.
Then tells him he should have said dead or something.
And then he like fucking chops him in half.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I want to see. I would love to see a 6-episode run on the Immortals backstory. I don't know if they go into it in the comic books.
They did. There was a couple of
side runs.
Yeah, a couple. The only one that comes to mind now, 'cause it's been a few years, was Rexplode. I definitely had a...
I'm going to read the balls out of this comic book, I think.
Oh, yeah. There's even a character, I can't remember what but he's a blind guy with guns.
Yeah.
And his whole deal is like, kind of like a daredevil guy, as in like...
Mixed with Bullseye or something.
Mixed with Bullseye, because he could like... He could shoot the door that's behind me on the hinge, and he could hit you in the head, as in like this complete and total awareness. Yeah. But again, like obviously, and this is the thing, I always hate, like I'm on an anime thing on Facebook, and people always keep writing, but could he beat Goku? Because Goku in Dragon Ball is the most powerful. You kind of go, fuck off. Yeah. As in, it's always within the realm of what the story is, how strong they are. It's not like, it's boring to just keep going bigger and bigger. You can act, like you said, with Immortal, he's not the most powerful person in it, but wouldn't it be great to get your story? Robot, wouldn't it be great to get your story? Because they're great story. That's all you should care about.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, well this guy could punch through a planet, but this guy could punch through a sun. Yeah. It's not storytelling.
Yeah, and
it's not anything.
It's like what we talked about before many times, like that if you overpower a character, you create a disconnect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think some of the most interesting characters have, like, maybe they're a bit underpowered, or just have like not a top tier.
Why do you think Batman is still probably, like, in many ways outselling Superman, or a bigger character Superman? It's because the guy if he has a power, it's determination.
Yeah.
And he's able to think one step ahead. It doesn't matter that some guy's a literal sun god.
Yeah.
Apollo. And it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. So yeah, no, there is. So I do. But I also think that I don't think this Invincible tried to make the most powerful character for the sake of it. I think it was a great storytelling device for how big and strong the enemy ultimately is, because Nolan is not the only Vulturemite.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole,
and that's brilliant. That sets up the second season.
Look at what he can do.
What if there was two of them?
Yeah, exactly.
Just two,
let alone an army.
And I'm not talking. I'm not talking another Mark Grayson. I'm talking somebody who's at least as old as him, and like he's like above average in the sense that he's like a high end soldier. But so what? Like, just get another lieutenant or whatever. And what if there was two? Just two.
Yeah.
Fucked. So that's why I think making them strong was good. And it was a good storytelling device, as opposed to a wankery fucking, let's make a stronger character and that makes
he wasn't like overtly overpowered too, because like he did suffer a lot of damage.
He did. He took damage. He took damage, but he got up. Yeah. And also they can heal, like, not quite Wolverine, but like not quite not.
I remember didn't Cecil say something like, we took a blood sample, we tried to destroy it in every way possible, we don't think we can kill him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I love the scene where but I love the scene where he goes bring the hammer down.
Oh, big time!
That fucking satellite or something.
I love it because Nolan looks up and goes, "You wouldn't dare."
Yeah, and he's like wipes out all the fucking surrounding woodlands and stuff.
And he's hurt, and he gets up and he just looks up, and all of a sudden he's up at the satellite tearing that bitch apart.
Yeah, and do you remember he was like as well before? Is it before or after that where he goes call into Hail Mary or something? Is it?
That's it, yeah. I love when Cecil shows up and he's trying to talk to Nolan. Nolan keeps trying to get him, but he's kind of like, because he's got teleport technology, he 100% can't touch Nolan, but he can also not be touched by Nolan.
Yeah.
And that gives him a platform to actually like say his piece.
Yeah.
Just a great show. What a great show. And your gripes you're like, I mean, even the gripes are kind of like, we wish we had more of the aspects of it we enjoyed, but they didn't shy away from it.
That's just an opinion. Like,
and that's just an opinion.
It's not even a weakness in this. Like,
it's when I was asked to put it under a microscope.
Yeah,
it wasn't something that it's not a gripe I've been carrying around with.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because both of us are very similar in our criticisms. You were like maybe a little less Angela, or maybe just portray that relationship in a different way.
Exactly.
And maybe have a little bit less time dedicated to it. And mine was kind of like very similar. It's like maybe have a bit better time management, maybe focus on the more interesting aspects of the story a bit more.
And maybe if they didn't try to say so true to the comics, because maybe like stuff will always work in comics. It doesn't work. Some stuff will, it just translates differently.
And the thing is, like, those aspects of the story are just more interesting to me. Could be totally different for someone else. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, I'm sure there's like 101 people out there that are like, oh no, I love the way they focus on the relationship aspect and how it was more relatable because he seemed like a more everyday person. Whereas I'm like, I want to know more about that dude in the incubation tube. I want to know how I want to know everything about that guy.
Everything, yeah, exactly,
you know what I mean? I want to know more about this Spartan fucking world, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a Spartan world of Superman. Yeah. There's a story there.
I want an episode on that. If you give me 8 episodes, I'm putting one on that, 100%. I'm having Mark meet that telepathic dude at the start of an episode, and I'm going to dedicate the entire 49 minutes to his backstory.
Yeah, what Alan, the alien, knows.
Yeah,
and just put that into a storyline. Because obviously, him not being a ally of the Voltron Empire, that he can say, look, this is what we know, man. This is the intelligence we've gathered, and then use that as a storytelling narrative.
He fought a war against them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
They kind of show a flash when they're conquering of his race.
Yeah, but Alan is obviously an extreme version of his race. Like he's like the absolute fucking business in terms of the strength they could possibly achieve.
He's an Aldalorian.
Yeah, but he's top of that pile. Yeah. It's not like everyone can fight the way they can. Yeah. And you get there's aliens and stuff in it, but they're obviously, and it's not much of a spoiler, not always as strong as Voltrons. Yeah. They're just a fucking empire of the likes of which are like Rome on a universal scale. Yeah. Like as in the universe scale, like fantastic storytelling.
So like pretty much our what ifs are a lot about time management and shit.
Yeah.
And to focus, it's stuff we just wanted, the stuff that it was more like, it's very opinionated, stuff that we thought was more interesting. Sure, it was very different for other people, but like, so Noel, we get away from the what if now because we were kind of just picking at little straws and shit.
We are, yeah.
But so when you look at the entire run of Invincible, the series, not the comic book, because I know you have more information than we do. But what would you say was the best and worst thing about the Invincible experience when you're looking back over it? We'll start with the best, if you want.
The best was just the action. Because it was brilliant, but B, it felt earned. Like it felt like it felt it was a part of narrative. Yeah. Whether he was like, whether Nolan was destroying cities to show Mark that these people don't matter, or whether it was the end of the first episode where he wipes them out. It always felt like they used violence, and sometimes that's just fun, for us that like it. But they always managed to tie it into the storyline. Yeah. It felt like it forwarded the story. It never felt like it was for its own sake.
Yeah, like the destruction Nolan caused was always to show how much of a threat he was.
Yeah, because even those tachyon aliens and stuff like that, they showed the burden that Mark actually has as a new superhero, and they showed the sheer scope of Nolan's power. Yeah, they were brought in. You could have just been an action sequence.
What you touched on earlier, he's a world destroyer.
Yeah. So they served. It was a cool scene, couple of cool scenes, but they were a storytelling narrative. They weren't just nothing. Yeah, and I just think that's by far the best. I just think you're just watching it going. Every episode just had something cool. And I think the worst, again, I suppose I don't want to go over to all the ground too much, but maybe because a lot of the storytelling was so great and it could be told in really flourished ways that they could have done more of that if they didn't spend so much time in the soup kitchen. Yeah. And I'm not actually shitting on that because it wasn't important because it was trying to show you that there was actually grounded things, like they're like homeless people still exist. Yeah. Like people who actually just need to be fed still exist. It's not all throwing meteors back into space. Yeah. And I actually thought it was good. I'm not slighting it. I just think that the storytelling wise they didn't need to ground it so much. When you get it, you get it. Yeah. And you don't always need to, you just feel like it's kicking a dead horse
Yeah.
once something is made abundantly clear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like everyone's saving the world in their own way.
Exactly.
Yeah, even if it's like it's that harkens back to the all heroes don't wear capes.
Exactly.
Which I hate that saying because a lot of heroes don't wear capes.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man.
Actually, most heroes don't wear capes.
Yeah, most heroes don't wear capes.
Superman wears capes, Batman wears capes. Yeah. Who else?
The Flash doesn't. Green Lantern doesn't.
Wonder Woman doesn't.
Wonder Woman doesn't.
Black Widow doesn't.
Black
Marvel
Widow
doesn't. Thor does.
Does sometimes.
Yeah. Thor in the comics pretty much does. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I always thought that same was stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you?
My best of the whole thing would be the action was fucking incredible. The story was amazing. But I just actually loved the gore, to be honest with you. I thought the fucking
gore, I know. It's just the horror
gore,
fan in us kind of talking. Yeah.
The gore was next level. Like as you said earlier, he squashed the fucking dude's head like a grape. He pushes Mark through a train by his head, and as he's doing it, he's obliterating all of the passengers on the train.
Yeah, it's a train going about 85 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
And people are getting wiped out.
Yeah.
Because there's so like he's more vicious than like a gigantic fucking iron rod that was left in the middle of it. It just is.
You know what I mean? Like
train won't break him.
Like, exactly. Like he's invincible.
But
I love the way they say that. Optimistic.
But even like a piece of like train,
a
jagged piece of metal going 85 miles an hour, couldn't scratch his cornea.
Yeah, sure. He heals up from the beating Omni-Man gives him, and that's way worse than any train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just love that from minute one, Robert Kirkman's like, this is a superhero show, but it's also every bit as much as gore-laden as any fucking horror movie or any horror show you're ever going to see. From the climax of episode 1, where we see the Guardians of the Globe being wiped out, and one of the best action sequences, fight sequences I've seen in a long time, and all the way through from the genocide of the interdimensional alien creatures, how they get wiped out, like, you know what I mean? And then later on, you see like the kind of viscousness of the character, like what's Robot's real name?
I can't remember. He was always just Robot to me.
Yeah, and I just love everything seemed really like kind of viscous and textured, and the gore was next level.
They didn't shy from it. There's you can't argue that.
People getting torn in half, like you know what I mean, like, and like,
but also the despair of it, like the actual death.
Yeah,
didn't feel, you know what I mean? Like people died,
it's
as opposed to just like when you're playing a game and just mindless amounts of death.
It's like
and
when
it's not.
You see Man of Steel the first time around, and you see all those buildings collapse when he's fighting Zod.
Yeah, there's people in them.
Yeah, exactly. Like thousands of people. It's like a metropolis area in America. You're talking thousands of people, like, you know, and you don't really notice that death toll in a sense until you see Batman versus Superman, and you see it from the ground level perspective, all through the eyes of Bruce Wayne running through the chaos. Whereas I think this show did really, really well was we're going to portray the carnage of what it's like to be involved in a superhero battle, and we're not going to shy away from the death toll, which a lot of these, like I think Sylvester Stallone said, the problem with Marvel movies is it's violence without consequence. And that kind of is a good sense that, like, you have buildings dropping left, right, and center, and you have Iron Man flying towards a building. How quickly can I buy this building? There's no real consequence of, like, that building drops. You're going to have, like, remember we seen in Twin Towers, when a building of that size drops, you see the chaos and the consequence down below. I think this show did a really good job of not only portraying gore, but gore with significance. You know what I mean? That we got to see people being crushed beneath fucking collapsing buildings. We've seen people being used as, like, just to make a point. Hey, son, these kids these humans don't mean nothing to me. Look how little they mean. Look how futile it is trying to save this one person when you could be trying to save a galaxy. I'm going to crush this person like I'd step on a fly.
We'll bring them medicine. We'll bring them,
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Make the point that, like, some will fall because they'll fight.
Yeah.
But ultimately.
Very Nazi-istic.
Exactly. Like in 50 years, it'll be the best thing that ever happened to them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I love the way the gore was my favorite part because I'm a big horror fan, of course. But, like, Invasion of Potty Snatchers, check it out. But I just loved the different way, the different types of kills. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many, like the guy when he chops the Immortal in half, and like when he crushes that
punches a hole through him, he dies a few ways.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and when he takes out, we already took on the Guardians of the Globe, but when he takes them all out, and the fight sequence there is fucking ridiculous. I just think, like, this movie or this TV show or this comic book may be impossible to make live action because, like, you have a kaiju, you have interdimensional fucking aliens, and just like apart from the gore, the best thing about it is just the scope the style and the originality of the fucking story, because even though his inspirations are clear for all to see, I think the originality he layers on top of his inspirations is every bit as impressive as the action and the gore.
Agreed. Yeah, well said. Agree.
Yeah. And the worst thing about it would be just like, I don't know. I just think like
it's hard to not touch all ground, but
yeah. I just think the worst thing about it would be, as I said earlier, just time management. I would have liked to seen maybe a bit more about some of the villains were very interesting. I would have liked to see a bit more about that guy that creates the robots. I'm sure he'll come back into it later. He's still alive, even though he's got his jaw fucked up, because we see him later on at the end of the season with like a new squadron of these dead soldiers. I love that line. They're going to serve their country once more, or something like that.
Yeah. Actually, we didn't. Yeah, we never even really touched upon it. That was very cool.
Yeah, Cecil's such a great character.
Well, that Cecil's like needs and money kind of thing, isn't it? Like that doctor's.
He looked like such a throwaway character. This is what I was saying to you earlier. They never waste characters. I suppose you could throw that into the best as well. Like there's so little worst about this that is like mainly time management.
Yeah,
and it's very like self.
But we put ourselves into a lens where we're trying to
as we said. No offense in here, motherfuckers.
No. I mean, for those people who might listen to this and say, well, "Let's see what you can do," I'd be like, I agree. I agree strongly.
Yeah, but like as to give my opinion, I would say time management. There's an individualistic, as in my sense, I would have liked to seen some of the more interesting aspects of the story fleshed out a bit more. I'm sure he was a bit hamstrung from his source material because he didn't want to stray in the same way AMC has done with The Walking Dead. Because I'm sure this is Robert Kirkman's way of saying, I can be a top level creator on the screen as well as on the page, and my work is every bit as adaptable, like as in immediately transferable. It doesn't have to be altered to come to the screen, and I think that's the point he's maybe trying to prove here.
I agree,
but I think I would definitely watch a couple of like 6-episode short runs on the Immortal.
Agreed, a fantastic character,
and a bit more backstory on Vegemite.
And for like characters that didn't get all that much lines comparatively, they did a really good job making them that interesting.
Yeah,
because it wasn't like they were the Spider-Man of the story; they simply weren't.
Yeah, and like I know, like that's a very little worse. Like I just want to say, like this. The level of characters that he's brought to life here is very impressive. I'm really looking forward to seeing what way it goes.
Agreed.
I'm going to have to decide whether or not I'm going to read ahead in the comic books or wait for the TV series to come out. Because if you say it's the exact same, I might just wait for the TV series. I don't know, because I'm impatient. But no, before we get the fuck out of here, do you have anything else to say about Invincible and all the shit?
I feel actually very comfortable that we covered that quite concisely, if I do say so ourselves. Pat on the back. Actually, no, my hand would fucking stick to me if I
we were literally in a sweatbox.
Yeah, so like for the sake of me possibly living, I'm going to sign out. If you've been with us, thanks.
No,
Tom's going to say something clever there.
So no, right. In the meantime, right before we go, I want to say a couple of things. So,
go for it, man.
We've been on a little bit of a break here. We had our documented problems with our Quiet Place special, but I didn't get the opportunity to say because that one we're going to have to re-record. In the meantime, you were doing some shit about mental health and stuff like that because
I suffer with panic disorder, and I'm doing a few videos under the YouTube channel Dreadhead. Well, I've only one video there, but I'm going to do. I did one my brother managed to popularize on Instagram, which I'm grateful for, and I'm going to do another one because I don't think people talk about it enough. Thanks for bringing that up, actually.
No worries, man. And like people keep an eye out for what he's doing because it's important and it's cool shit. And I also wanted to say I want to give a shout out because like we were a little bit getting into the podcast,
a little bit of networking.
Yeah, a little bit of networking, and we're hoping to appear on a podcast coming up, hosted by a guy I know as Dylan C. And that's the Stardom podcast, spelled ST.
Stardom.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I've had
a play
few
on Stardom. It's very clever, and we're all very happy.
Yeah, and I've had a few drinks, so my spelling's pretty bad right now. But STARR. No, yeah.
Is it not just STARDUMB?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm the dumb part.
It's very ironic that you very dumbly spelled Stardom, man. That's awesome.
Man, I'm like, God,
you can't get better press than that.
I'm 3 screwdrivers deep, and we're in a sweatbox right now, and I'm fucking flailing here.
Yeah, no, like there is no moisture in my body.
But Dylan C, we want to give you a shout out. We're hoping to appear on one of your podcasts soon in the near future.
Thanks for the invite, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks for the shout out on your latest episode too. And so Noel, we get the fuck out here before.
Get the fuck out of here. Thanks, folks. Thanks for staying with us, and we will see you all too soon through the magic of media.
All right, folks. I'm your host Vince Green. He's your host Noel John Toohey. This is Dark Side of the Moon. That was Invincible.
Peace.
Peace out, motherfuckers. See you next time. We are melting. See ya. You nearly ready over there, Hollywood?
You should have never trusted Hollywood.